Welcome back to another day, another episode of the Daily Grind. I'm your host, 30NSG, and on today's show, we got a packed show. We got 3 videos we're going to watch. We're going to watch a video from Jason Schreier calling the death of PlayStation discs was decades in the making. We're going to watch a video from Alanah Pearce called Everyone is Missing the Point, and we're going to watch David Jaffe's No Disc, No Buy versus PlayStation is Over. If you guys like what I do, we do this Monday through Thursday from 10 o'clock in the morning until noon Eastern. If you like it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. My voice is a little rough today. I'm drinking some tea, but I feel like I'm losing my voice. So voice will crack and whatnot during the show. But it is what it is. The show must go on. What's going on, chat? Let me see who's all here. Morning, Altern. Morning, Albany. Roic, good morning. Brain Eclipse. Sarge. Big Mo. Who am I missing? Wonder Rose, good morning. Crowded, good morning. Risky, thank you very much for the member. Appreciate that. Thanks for, I think you were a member before. But thank you very much for becoming a member. I appreciate that. What's going on, Jax? Good morning. Who else am I missing? Did I miss anybody else? I think I got everybody else. Altern, did I say Altern? Good morning. As more people come in, if you guys don't know what I do this Monday through Thursday from 10 o'clock in the morning until noon Eastern. We just cover news stories, cover videos, give you my thoughts and opinions. We get your thoughts and opinions as well. What's going on, Kraken? And then, we have a conversation. You know, we just have a talk. It's not debates. It's just points, what we're interested in, what we're passionate in. I love video games. I love talking about this stuff. So that's what we do here. Don't forget, tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, we have Generation X Gaming, a weekly podcast that goes over a few of the top stories from the past week, and we rant along the way. Episode 497. The next couple weeks, obviously leading up to episode 500. On the 500th show, we do have Kingard, we have Real Life Fake Wizard, and we have Greg Owen joining us on Generation X Gaming to celebrate the 500th episode. So make sure you guys tune in to Generation X Gaming tonight, and also on the 500th episode as well. All the past broadcasts are up there on our YouTube channel as well, which is what you're on right now. All right. I think we're going to start off, even though I have Alanah Pearce in the thumbnail, we usually, whatever the thumbnail is, we usually do that story first. But I think in the order of what this is, because Jason Schreier is talking about PlayStation's disc was decades in the making, so he's going to give us a history lesson here. So we're going to watch that, and then we'll watch Alanah Pearce, and then we'll watch David Jaffe. What's going on, Water Bear? All right. Let's get all the links in the descriptions down below for all the people's chats, and here we go. Or channels, I should say.
Hello, One Take Schreier here. Sony's
One Take Schreier. Oh, that's nice. This man is. Do you see how fast his channel has grown? And this is not jealousy by any way. He has, he has built this up because he is credible. You know what I mean? Like, he's built this credibility up with the articles he's written over a decade and stuff like that. So he's got over 134,000. I mean, I think he's only been around for like a month on YouTube. His channel is completely exploded. So, One Take Schreier. I think that's what we'll call him, because that's what he's calling himself.
recent decision to kill PlayStation discs starting in January of
is he a little
2028.
Is his voice a little low? Or is it just my speakers? Yeah, in a month, Water.
Has led to a whole lot of controversy for very good reasons. It's also the natural endpoint of a battle that the video game industry has been fighting since the early.
Should I talk to you guys like this? And I mean like this. I'm not making fun of him, but obviously it sounds like I'm making fun of him. Where he's talking to you like you're a child, right? And I guess maybe that's his clientele. Maybe the clientele is younger people that like to be talked very slow. Chat, would you like me to describe things to you in a more slow-paced way?
2000s.
I can't boost him. What was that program, Eclipse? What was that program that we used? It was inside the, hold on, sound adjustment. I got it. Let's see if we can raise him up.
Decision in many ways has been
Hold
almost
on.
3 decades in the making. So let's go back in time, shall we? It's story time.
Okay.
Natural endpoint of a battle that the video game industry has been fighting since the early 2000s. This decision in many ways has been almost 3 decades in the making.
Altern says, God, no. If you speak to me like I'm slow, I'm unsubscribing. Are you even subscribed? I don't even know if you're subscribed. I thought you just kept coming back, Altern.
So let's go back in time, shall we? It's story time. Let's say it's, I don't know, 2005. The Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 and Wii are all about to come out. Now, back then, video games were sold physically. There was no such thing as digital game sales unless you were playing games on PC, when occasionally at this point you would be able to get games on.
You still can get discs. It's just people don't buy disk drives for their PCs, right? Like, we bought Baldur's Gate 3 Deluxe Edition for Sarge for his birthday, 2 years ago? And I remember he bought it and was like, oh shit, it comes with discs. Can I even play it? It also came with the code that you can put the code in. But if you have a disk drive, you can put the discs in.
Steam was just kind of kicking off, and it was kind of like in the early days of digital game sales. But for the most part, you would buy your games, and especially your...
Oh, 100%, Chopper. 100%. That's what I said. When I say he's blown up, I know people are looking at this and go, oh, you're just jealous or whatever. But it has nothing to do with jealousy. This man has built up his credibility, right? Because he's worked for Kotaku. He's worked for, Bloomberg. He's been doing this for 10 years plus, right? He's written books. He's made a name for himself on Twitter. He's done the grind. Regardless of what you think of Jason Schreier or not, he's grinded up to the point where when he started a channel, Paul Tassi, when he was on the podcast with us, with me and Lono back in the day, the Rageous Round Table, right? He was skeptic of starting a YouTube channel, right? And he talked to us back in the day and was like, hey, should I start a YouTube channel? Both of us, both me and Lono were like, yeah, you should, because you'll blow up. And he did. And he's got over 100,000 people as well. These journalists or whatever, they have such a following, right? They have such a following on Twitter. It would make no sense to not do it on YouTube. You know what I mean?
Console games at your local store, your local Best Buy, your local Target, your local GameStop. And what these stores did, particularly GameStop, was that they, in addition to selling new games, they would offer you the opportunity to trade in your games, and then they would turn around and sell them as used. And a lot of people took advantage of this. Yeah, it's called the used market. It's called the secondhand market, right? Like, imagine, I know he's giving us a history lesson here. Who's defending this as far as you, the customer, where you could buy secondhand market, or I could give you my copy of the game, right? Anybody that's defending, well, it's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. Physical media is going bye-bye. Yet I can still get physical movies. Yet I can still get physical CDs. I can still get physical records. These are a niche market, okay? Minority market. But they haven't abandoned it completely because they're still making millions, tens of millions of dollars off people that want to buy physical stuff. Yet for some reason, everyone's folding like a goddamn lawn chair in the video game space where they're like, well, that's just the way it is. Yeah, you guys are fighting a bad... Great. Then continue, just fold like a lawn chair. Continue giving all these companies, because it's not just Sony, it'll be everybody else, where you don't get any more physical. And if you're happy with that, great. Consume. The rest of us that want customer protection, where I get to hold my stuff, I'm not even talking about from the law. I'm talking about choices to grab things, to have physical items. We're going to keep fighting.
The rest of you that are lawn chairs, you can fold and go with the rest of the people.
A number of reasons. One is that a ton of people were playing the annual sports games every year, and and one way to get that price down a little bit for the newest Madden, for Madden 06, was to bring in your copy of Madden 05 and maybe get, I don't know, $15 back for it, and therefore contribute that to buying the latest one. But also people kind of used
What's going on, Jesse Mack? Crowded. Jason, what's going on? Good morning.
GameStop as almost as a rental service where you would buy a game and you would play through it and then you would trade it back in. Maybe you'd get way less than what you actually paid for it, but still it helped knock the price off and helped make $60 games more affordable. This was a problem.
This is another thing. There was a huge market that people don't want to buy full price games. This is why they bought a game and then traded in their last game because they were done playing it so they can get a discount or money towards the next game. That's not happening anymore. Once you go digital, there is no second-hand market. There is no discount on the next game. Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, all of them will not be doing this, right? It's full price all the time, every time. What's going on, Nini?
For game publishers, because if you were EA or Ubisoft or Activision or Take-Two, you would look at this and see a game that you made, that you funded, that you put money into, getting sold once for $60, and you only benefit from that one sale, and then circulating in the market over and over again, potentially being sold dozens more times, that same game as it gets traded.
I love how he's I don't know if he's defending. I know he's just giving us a history lesson. Imagine a company. Imagine what he's saying right now. Let me rewind it again. Let him say it again, and then I'll say my part.
You made, that you funded, that you put money into, getting sold once for $60, and you only benefit from that one sale, and then circulating in the market over and over again, potentially being sold dozens more times, that same game as it gets traded in and back and in and back, without you seeing anything from it. GameStop is the biggest profit generator from those sales. So the companies all started thinking, hey, how can we put an end to this practice?
Now, think about this. Think about this. He's making a point here where he's saying, well, all of these companies, they were selling their games, right? Selling their games. Now, think about this for a second. When they used to give you the stats, when they actually used to tell you the sales, it was shipped, right? This is why there was pre-orders. This is why they said, hey, would you like this next greatest game that's coming out? And we're like, yeah, because I want to get it. Because at that time, they were like, before we print our discs, we need to go months in advance to figure out how many discs we need to make. Okay? So we need to, it was like a hand-in-hand like a thing. They would ask Target, they would ask GameStop, they would ask, how many games do you guys need or you're going to buy in your area, right? So if you had a GameStop in your area, there's probably 100,000, 200,000 people in your area or whatever. It's like 5 GameStops or whatever. And they're like, how many do you need? Well, we need this many. And they're like, okay, great. So store A gets this many copies. Store B gets this many copies. So when you showed up and you didn't pre-order, you're like, well, we just got pre-orders. You're going to have to see, we might have 2 copies remaining. And you're like, okay, cool. I'll come back later. Can I put my name down? Yeah, because you didn't pre-order, right? Pre-ordering was telling people, like a wish list, how many are interested in the game. Now, obviously, they're not printing up for wish lists. It's just showing interest in it so they can figure out what they need. But pre-orders were that. So Sony was like, oh, okay, we need to make 5 million copies. So the game came out and they told you shipped numbers, but they were sales numbers because Target, Best Buy, Walmart, Circuit City, with all any place that was selling them, they picked up those games. They bought those games. They put them in the stores. And they told you, sold 5 million units, 3 million units. They were making money hand over fist. But here we are in 2026, and now we have Jason Schreier and other people telling you, well, these game companies were losing so much money. They were losing so much money at a GameStop because I bought a game and then I gave it back to GameStop and they sold it to somebody else. Oh, the horror. Yet Sony, Nintendo, Microsoft, Sega, all of these companies made hundreds of millions of dollars. Open studios became billion-dollar companies, became trillion-dollar companies because of the games they sold. But they were missing out on so much money. Now they're coming back Okay, now they're coming back with digital, and they make 100% of the profit. They're not even splitting it with anybody else.
Now, remember, this was a point when around this era, around the late 2000s, there was this kind of rise of the Xbox Live Arcade, and we were starting to see the beginnings of downloadable games and downloadable indie games in particular.
And on top of that, as I get my early morning rant in, okay, they have microtransactions on every single thing now. They have season passes, battle passes, okay? They have monthly subscriptions. They're charging full price for digital games, right? They're absurdly greed across the boards, but they have to do it because they just can't make enough money. They fire studios left and right, okay? They close studios. They fire people. They do all these things. Well, it's just what it is, guys. It's just what it is. It's just the way it is.
But this was not an era where you could just buy a digital copy of, I don't know, Arkham Asylum or the new Madden or Dragon Age Origins. You had to go buy physically, and therefore these companies had this frenemy in GameStop, where GameStop was both they relied upon GameStop to actually get their games, distribute their games to customers, but at the same time
were the game companies pissed off at Hollywood Studios? It was Hollywood Studios, Hollywood Video, and Blockbuster, because Blockbuster bought a shit ton of games to put in all their stores so people could rent them. Oh my God, the horror.
Hated this used game market. Something that EA did was this kind of ridiculously titled plan, this service that they called Project $10.
That's exactly right, Altern. Every time the devs get fired, we should just be like, it's just what it is. It's what it is, guys. It's what it is.
That was speared by CEO of EA at the time, John Riccitiello. And the idea of Project $10 was that they would couple their new games with some sort of add-on in the form of a download code, whether it was an online pass or DLC or something like that. I'll get into some specific examples in a second. But if you didn't have the code...
Oh, wait, Mr. Z. We have a bunch of people that are in the industry trying to tell us, just give up, just fold. It's a pointless fight.
You had to pay $10 for it. In other words, if you went to the store and you bought a new copy of the game, you would get a code with it, no problem. You download your thing, you connect to the internet, and you're all set. But if you buy the game from the store and it's used, chances are someone's already used that online code, and so you have to go on EA Store and pay $10 for it, which will help juice up the profits for EA and make it so they actually benefit from at least a subset of the people who are buying used games rather than new ones. Because remember, EA doesn't see any profit when GameStop, if I trade in my game at GameStop and then GameStop resells it, they don't have to pay a dime to EA. That is
okay. And yet EA made game after game, Madden after Madden, basketball game after basketball game, NHL game, and they made hundreds of millions of dollars. And this is before the Ultimate Team. Every year the game came out, and every year they sold 10 million units.
Pure profit for them. If they paid me $20 for a game and then they turn around and sell it for $50, that is a $30 margin. That is a ridiculous profit for them. And that's how GameStop was able to stay in business and become so ubiquitous back in the 2000s and early 2010s or so, before the meme stock era, which is a whole different story. So,
oh, Jason. I saw the way you looked at the camera there when you said that.
So EA did this. Dragon Age Origins is a good example. That was 2009, and that had a DLC called The Stone Prisoner that you could go and recruit this character named Shale. Had an entire new character and quest with it.
Mr. Z, we're going to be watching that after this one.
That was free DLC if you bought a...
I didn't watch it. Winzo came in last night, and Krebsy both were like quoting lines from there. I was like, oh, we'll watch it tomorrow.
New copy of the game. Otherwise, you had to pay $10 for it. There were other examples too. I mean, EA did it a lot. They did it for online passes. I'm just pulling up a couple of examples here, but there was like
Yeah. Okay. Good. You'll take a walk. Don't worry. All right. That sounds good.
Battlefield 3 had what was called an online pass, and in order to play any sort of multiplayer, you had to connect to the internet using one of these codes. Other companies too. Batman Arkham City, which came out in 2011, had codes for what they called an online VIP pass, which gave
Ooh, a VIP pass. So presidential.
you access to Catwoman as a playable character in the game, and in order to have access to Catwoman, you had to use this online code, or go and pay $10 for it. This was also a time, by the way, when we started to see the rise of it. All started with the kind of infamous horse armor, where Bethesda decided to start selling cosmetic armor for your horse in the Elder Scrolls Oblivion.
Right. Got it. Sony's just the top console company, right? Like one of the biggest console companies out there, leading that part of the industry, and yet they just can't make it. They can't make it.
And that became this kind of like this quintessential example of how ridiculous downloadable content was, and a lot of other companies started following suit, selling you all sorts of what the games industry calls skins, which are essentially costumes or new outfits or new.
Thank you very much for the explanation of what skins are.
Aesthetics and cosmetics for your characters. And so you could log into the Xbox Live Store or the PlayStation Store and just download and buy a lot of these different cosmetics at the time. So yeah, it wasn't just EA. Ubisoft was well known for doing it as well. Sony did it. There were games like SOCOM, and a bunch of EA Sports games were doing it. Ubisoft did it with Assassin's Creed games. It was pretty much all the major
It just reminded me about Assassin's Creed games. You know, this is the same people that are protecting Sony and Xbox and all these other people are saying, well, it's just what it is. Right? When someone brings up that the greedy corporations of Ubisoft, where they have microtransactions in single-player games, there's always someone that comes in and goes, well, they've been doing this for years. It's just what it is. It's like, no, the same people that are complaining 10 games in were complaining game number 1 and 2 and 3 and saying, this is stupid. There shouldn't be microtransactions in single-player games. And everyone's like, just fold. It's just what it is.
Publishers. Rock Band had like various songs that were attached to online codes. So the idea was like, hey, we are going to get something out of this used game system. But of course, that led to some pressure from the retailers, from GameStop and others. And eventually, these companies were kind of forced to abandon that practice. But in the early 2010s, something else happened, which is that these game companies started talking about what would become their next generation of video game consoles. Now, this was a time when maybe this online pass, maybe this Project $10 initiative wasn't working so well, wasn't really, it was...
I think he's about to talk about the Xbox and Don Matrick. He's got to be, right? Because that's the next generation. And it's funny how we're in 2026, but just 13 years ago, people were giving Microsoft shit for what they did. And yet now, 13 years later, all consoles, all things are exactly what Microsoft thought. It was just ahead of its time. And everyone pushed back then and was like, haha, no, we're not doing that, Microsoft, in your face. And now we're just kind of leaning back and just being like, yeah, just it's okay now.
Obviously, it was pissing off a lot of customers. A lot of people wound up complaining to customer support when they bought a new game and like the code didn't work, or / they bought a new game and the code didn't work. It was a whole big controversial thing. It made headlines constantly back then and led to a lot of complaints, including from the retailers. So that initiative, I think, was not super successful for these companies. So here's what's happening. So cut to 2011, 2012. PlayStation and Xbox are both preparing for the launch of their new consoles. The Wii and the Wii U are kind of on a different cycle at this point. The Wii U comes out in 2012. That's the flop of that console is a whole nother story. But let's focus on
one of the worst flops ever in gaming, and yet not really talked about much for the Wii U.
On PlayStation and Xbox, because those were kind of the two direct competitors, and the two
like Xbox has sold, I think, twice, maybe 3 times more than what the Wii U sold, and yet people give more shit to Xbox this generation than they did with the Wii U back then.
That we're working more closely, I would say, with the big AAA third-party games and publishers. So PlayStation and Xbox say, hey, this used game thing is a problem. What are we going to do about this? And both of them, in various capacities, begin exploring this idea of some sort of DRM, some sort of protection to make used games less of a thing on their consoles. PlayStation winds up abandoning that, and Xbox winds up moving forward with it in some capacity or another. And what happens is, in May of 2013, Microsoft announces the Xbox One. Don Matrick, who's running Xbox at the time, does this whole big presentation. It is one of the most tone-deaf video game company events that has ever been held.
Sure, at the time, 100%.
It mostly focuses on the entertainment aspects of the Xbox One. They talk about how it's going to be this living room entertainment box that lets you watch Netflix and do all these other things.
And now your television does everything what Don Matrick said the Xbox would do. The one thing I miss with the Xbox One is when they had where you could plug in your cable box, when we all had cable boxes, and you could have the small screen in the corner, have a dual screen and play video games and also watch TV. I love that feature.
Multitask using what's called Xbox, I think it was called Xbox Snap, to like allow your thing to you could, it came with a built-in Kinect, which was their full body motion control device, and you could gesture to like snap things on.
And now you can do that in VR. Now you can do that where you're screaming at your television to tell a commercial to change or a channel to change. You can you need face recognition for your phones. It's crazy from back then to now how we all just kind of just like, yeah,
on the interface. It was actually kind of cool, but yeah, the focus was entertainment, and it even came with 2 HDMI ports, not just one. There was an HDMI in and an HDMI out port, because the idea was that you would be passing your
like Christina says, I stopped watching TV like 20 years ago. Yeah, we haven't had cable TV, I want to say, since it's been a good 7 years since we haven't had like actual cable TV. And even when we had TV, I had a kid, born, and we didn't really watch much TV or movies. We missed a whole section of movies. Like, I didn't even know they came out.
Other kind of cable, your other entertainment devices through this thing, and using the Xbox as they called it all-in-one. One of the reasons it was called Xbox One, it was because it was an all-in-one entertainment device was the idea. That conference, they like barely even.
It could be both, just enough. It could be both. They could have changed the font size, and you're probably getting older. Just saying. I know one is true. You're getting older. I do not know if they changed the font.
Mentioned video games, it got a lot of flack, but more importantly, at the time, it was very confusing, and they had a lot of mixed messaging about how it would actually handle being connected to the internet, checking your games, seeing if you could actually use games on the thing, or if it had to have some sort of digital license or handshake with the servers in order to actually get your games working. And the executives at the time gave these interviews that were incredibly confusing. At one point, Phil Harrison, who was another top executive at Xbox at the time, he gave an interview where he said that you would have to connect to the internet once every 24 hours.
Listen to what he's saying right now. Listen to what he's saying right now, because that's what's happening right now.
Gave an interview where he said that you would have to connect to the internet once every 24 hours on the device. Then Xbox had to send over a statement to another gaming website being like, that was actually just one potential example, and the decisions have not yet been finalized. It was a debacle. It was a mess, but it became very clear in those days and weeks that followed that there was going to be some sort of protection on the system that would prevent you from playing used games or using used games in some way. PlayStation at the time, it was heavily rumored that they were considering something similar, so it was a bit of a surprise. And
it's like they reversed roles. And I truly believe this is what happened back then. Xbox and PlayStation were in it together. I think they were both going to do exactly what Xbox was doing, because you know where I stand. I think all the companies are together, and it proves that. But Xbox had their event 1st, right? It's like 3 days earlier. They came out and said what they're going to say. People gave hell of a pushback to it, and PlayStation was like, whoop, whoop, abort. We have to do the opposite. And they did the greatest thing ever where they said, this is how you share games. And they handed the game over to the other guy, and that was it. And here we are, again, 13 years later, and now Sony's like, oh yeah, we're doing everything they did and more.
A big shot against their biggest competitor when at E3 2013 they did their big press conference for the PlayStation 4, and they showed a video of two executives at the time, Shuei Yoshida and Adam Boyes, and one of them said, this is how you share games on PlayStation, and simply handed one a disc.
So simplistic, and it won over the entire crowd.
Between themselves, just handed a disc, one guy to the other. This, of course, became a flashpoint and brought up quite a bit recently because it is no longer relevant now that PlayStation is killing discs. But at the time, it was seen as Sony being customer first and making something that people really wanted, and people called it one of the craziest, one of the most mic drop moments in E3's history. And just a few weeks after E3, Don Matrick, the CEO of Xbox, stepped down, and Xbox announced that it was backtracking, and the Xbox One, instead of being this weird online connected device that had some sort of used game protection, would not let you use used games, now it would be a traditional console. But, of course, these companies were still trying to figure out how to solve this problem. And
I love how it's not a problem for the customers, it's a problem for the businesses.
One of the ways that they solved it was essentially through no kind of, it wasn't a tactic, it wasn't a strategy, it wasn't something they actively did, it was almost an accident.
100%. What are we talking about, Jason? If you're about to say that digital games was an accident because of COVID, you're totally mistaken. Okay, I don't know if that's what he's about to say. Okay, digital games were always the plan. It just so happened that COVID happened, and it accelerated the plan in the favor of the businesses. In all businesses across, not just video games, okay? Where their plan was, okay, in the next 10 years, we want to grow the digital space, but then COVID happened, and it went from it's actually right before COVID, but it went from 80 to 20 to 20 to 80, like super, and then COVID like embedded on these companies that, yep, that was the smart choice. That's where we're going.
And it was just the industry shifting, because what began to happen throughout that generation, and especially into this current generation, is people started buying games digitally. Everybody's internet got better.
We've had this conversation. We've been doing the show GXG for 12 years. 12 years. Meaning we did it 1 year after the Xbox One came out. Okay, and the PlayStation 3 came out. We've been doing the show. Okay, we've been doing it for 12 years. Okay, well, actually, it's about 2 years afterwards, right? But we've been doing it's 12 years, 11 years, 12 seasons, right? But we've been doing it since back then, and all the time we've talked about digital, and we've always fought for, here it comes. I've even had conversations on other people's podcasts about how it's all going to go digital, it's all going to go to cloud, and everyone in the chat, everyone that was on the podcast thought I was crazy. And yet here we are, because I saw the plans ahead of time. I saw what the future was. I don't like it. I buy digital, but I also buy physical. And all I'm asking as a customer is that I want choice. They don't want to give you choice.
It became much easier to just go on the store. The stores really got improved quite a bit. If you ever look at UIs for the PlayStation Store or the Xbox Store in the 2000s versus what they became in the 2010s, it's leaps and bounds different. They added all sorts of features. They started putting big discounts on their digital stores to try to draw people in digitally.
Did I miss those big discounts?
Started making bigger hard drives, and these consoles came with bigger built-in hard drives, especially later on with the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series. era. And we got to this point where customer habits really changed and people just found it more convenient, and people preferred buying games digitally. They didn't have to go to the stores. Of course, some people still wanted to save money and buy games for cheaper by doing the whole trading in thing, but it became less and less relevant. And at the same time, GameStop became a disastrous company that just made so many of its own sorts of boneheaded moves.
Yeah, 5% discount's not really a discount, but it does have the name discount in the name, Roic.
And wound up now the guy in charge, Ryan Cohen, he has his own just kind of delusions of grandeur and visions of himself running eBay. He recently said, and in an interview with Bloomberg that I'll link in the show notes here, he recently said that that PlayStation's decision to kill discs is quote unquote irrelevant to his business, which I suppose is his business is trying to buy eBay.
First of all, a man bought a company based off of what was happening in the stock market and stuff because he saw a different vision. GameStop's not what GameStop used to be. Ryan Cohen is 100% correct saying that just because it's called GameStop, they don't have anything to do with game. Go into a GameStop, right? The physical games and just games they have in there, it's Funko Pop and T-shirts and different things, right? And Pokemon cards. They've completely changed. He's pivoted that whole business into a completely different format. So him saying it's not, there's still mom and pop shops that sell retro games and do trade-ins. There's thousands of them, okay? But GameStop's the biggest one known.
And selling Funko collectibles or something like that. I don't know. But what happened was the gaming world, gaming customers, they moved to digital. And I've discussed in a previous video why the margins for these companies are so much higher on digital. It's a little bit complicated, of course. There's bandwidth costs and payment processor costs and all sorts of other things that are kind of factors there to consider. But for the most part, companies are making more money digitally than they are by going physically. And now we are just seeing the culmination of this. So what happened essentially was the story here is this.
It's the only piece of entertainment, okay, that's not keeping physical. Imagine that. Again, movies still can get physical. Music still can get physical. Books still can get physical. Yet, video games, for some reason, can't do physical.
Essentially, that these companies tried to kill used games, failed, tried again, failed, and then it just kind of accidentally happened because people just found that buying digitally was actually kind of convenient for them. And now we're in this world where the majority of games that are sold are done so digitally. I want to share a stat from one of the most informative analysts out there, a guy named Matt.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Here we go. Matt Piscatella with Circana. Okay, I'm gonna say this again. Matt Piscatella has an analyst firm. How do you think he makes his money? Chat, how do you think Matt Piscatella makes his money? He does analysts and analytics for who? Who do you think he does? Who do you think Matt Piscatella's clients are? Right? How many people do analytics? 3, 4 people? How many people post stuff to tell us what the sales numbers are, but there's asterisks and different things, and they don't tell you the full story, but man, does it make the clients happy that they're doing that because it gives a little bit of information. Okay? Matt Piscatella, I don't know his specific clients, but I guarantee you Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, and major corporations like Ubisoft or anybody else are probably clients of him or other analytic firms because these companies pay analytic firms to give the data to see what they could make or what they shouldn't make or what the stats are. Okay, so when Matt Piscatella comes out and says the stuff that we covered a couple days ago or last week with seven games with 100,000, there's no context behind that. He forms it any way he wants because he's technically not lying because he's giving you the stats that he wants. Like I could tell you right now that right now at this very minute, we are the highest level live stream under the age of, whatever. It's so stupid the way they do these analytic stuff. Okay. I hate, and then everybody, like Jason and everybody else, quotes him and takes his information because nobody else is sharing information. Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo could share information if they wanted to, but they don't. They go through the different ways so they don't have to tell you their sales. But it's amazing what happens when they do sell something well, and then all of a sudden they tell you the sales.
Piscatella, who works for the firm Circana,
Come on, Rex the Dragon.
he shared this stat just recently, which is that which is the number of physical units. So I'm going to read this from Matt Piscatella. He writes, 2 PlayStation video games sold more than 10,000 physical units in the U.S. during the week ending July 11th, 2026. Two.
Is that 2 first-party title games? Is that third-party title games? 2 PlayStation games. Which ones?
2 PlayStation video games sold more than 10,000 physical discs. 7 total have sold more than 100,000 physical units year.
Only in the U.S., not in the UK, not anywhere else in the world, just the U.S. Like, how disingenuous is the stat?
To date, 7 games this year have sold more than 100,000 discs. Millions and millions of games sold, and 7 of them have sold more than 100,000 physical units, which I think speaks.
And see, this is what it does. Somebody says a number, people read the number, believe what the number actually is, even though you don't know the exact number. You just know an estimate number that someone's telling you. And then everybody starts to go, well, see? Yeah, this is exactly why Sony's doing what they're doing. Negating everybody else that actually still buys physical. And they're like, well, you can't expect the Sony to make physical stuff. I mean, the company's going to be losing money. Are they? They just don't make as much money off the physical because they get only 40% or 50%, maybe 60%. But now they're getting 100%. Well, you got to think about the companies, because if the company doesn't make, they're going to go under. Yes, they would go under. And this is exactly my point. Customers make businesses. Businesses make product for customers to keep buying. If businesses don't make product to keep people buying, well, then they go under. It happens every day. You could drive down your road and see a business out of business. Because why? They didn't make the quality enough for people to walk into the actual business, to buy the thing, to eat the thing, to sell the thing, all of it. They all go bye-bye. That is the beauty part of business. Competition. When you get rid of competition and you hold all the cards, that is not competition. You should not be a customer of any business that does that.
To what's happened here, which is that the market has shifted. So as I've said before, I personally am a big fan of libraries. Go support your local library. It bums me out that they will not be able to carry PlayStation discs moving forward. I think that it's really a shame that that people won't be able to trade in used games anymore in this.
Do you? If you believe that, Jason, then speak up. Then say it. Instead of, it's just
this kind of new digital future. I think it's going to hurt some people. Obviously, preservation and collection, there are a lot of issues that are associated with this transition, but it is something that was made based on pure math and pure numbers. And the
pure math, pure numbers. Can we actually see the actual numbers? Can we get the full-on disclosed information of the entire world of physical to digital?
Logic of seeing that the market has really shifted. There is a little bit of irony here, and of course,
it's like looking out your window, seeing a fire, and going, "Oh my God, the whole world's on fire." But literally, it's just like your neighbor's house is on fire. You're like, "Oh my God, all you see is this. The whole world must be on fire."
Of course, I think the consumer backlash to PlayStation's decision to sell discs, I think, is much louder even than the backlash to online passes.
Wait a minute. What do you say there?
Of course, I think the consumer backlash to PlayStation.
Do you hear it? Do you hear what he just said?
Irony here, and of course, I think the consumer backlash to.
Do you see how fast he changed from customer to consumer?
Bit of irony here, and of course, I think the consumer backlash to PlayStation's.
We've lost. He's lost. He's lost. We are customers. We are customers. I'm a customer. Maybe you guys are not customers. I'm a customer, right? I'm not a consumer. I don't consume.
Decision to sell discs, I think, is much louder even than the backlash to online passes was back in the day, which is also pretty crazy to see. I've said this before, but I still think it's wild. If you look at PlayStation's Twitter account, every single thing they've tweeted over the last however many weeks since they made that decision and made that announcement has been met by thousands and thousands of angry replies.
They're probably just bots, Jason. There's probably no rhyme or reason why people are doing that for every single tweet. I'm sure it's just bots. Nobody really actually cares. Nobody actually wants still physical. We should just all fold.
Talking about this single issue to the point where I wonder, like, if I was marketing a game with PlayStation and I had made some sort of arrangement with them or paid them for a marketing spot on the PlayStation blog and some social media promotion, is it kind of backfiring now because your big promotion?
That's actually a great point, actually. Yeah, I think the pressure should be exactly more. And anyone that gave Sony money to promote their game and it gets ratioed into the ground, they should sue Sony. They should sue Sony for not thinking about their clients because they are also customers of Sony, right? Because they're like, hey, we're paying you to advertise our game on your system, and you just completely destroyed our game because you're saying you're not making physical discs anymore. So they should sue them.
For Blood of Dawnwalker or Wolverine or whatever else is now just going to be met by backlash from customers about the discs thing. So that's a whole nother problem that you have to worry about these days. But regardless, we are seeing a humongous customer backlash to it.
How can we have humongous customer backlash, but yet Sony told us that nobody's buying physical? Only 100,000 people bought physical. Only 7 games, everybody.
Is it going to change anything? I don't know. It's beyond me to speculate about that sort of thing, but the market has undoubtedly shifted. So the video game industry, they tried to kill used games, couldn't pull it off, but now have actually done it.
No, they haven't done anything yet. They haven't done anything yet. See, the title could be Sony actually killed the secondhand market, or the title could be customers killed Sony. Customers killed Xbox, right? We, and this, everyone has to get this through their head. We, the customers, dictate what is working and what isn't working. We make companies successful or not successful. We make movies, music, video games, books, donut shops, pizza parlors, gas stations, car companies, sneaker companies. Everyone that is a multi-billion-dollar business has got there because of customers. But yet everyone forgets this.
This has been in the works for a very long time, and this is kind of the endpoint of that particular saga. All right, that is that for this week's... No, I keep saying that. God, man, triple click habits have trained me into saying certain things. That is that for today's episode of One Take Schreier.
One Take Schreier. Well, there you go. There's Jason Schreier. Links in the description down below. Go give him a sub. 134,000 people have given him a sub. That's huge numbers, by the way. Huge numbers in the amount of time he's been on YouTube. Let me see how many videos he's got. He's got 22 videos. 22 videos, and he's got 136 1 month ago. His first video that he posted was May 27th. So 2 months, month and a half. A month and a half, and he's got 100. You got to give credit where credit's due. Congratulations to Jason Schreier for blowing past that 100,000 mark. Okay. 100,000 mark. All right. Do you guys want to watch Alanah Pearce next, or do you want to watch David Jaffe next? Which one, Chad? I'll let you guys choose. Which one would you like to hear first? I know where Mr. Z stands. He wants David Jaffe because he's already watched Alanah Pearce. I haven't seen any of them. All right, let me see what your chat's saying here. Let me back up here before we go to the next thing. Excuse me. Again, my voice is, I'm trying to fight my voice being gone. Hopefully the next 3 days off will recoup. Window says, this is so false when they say this. Do they not realize you also have to take into account that there's games that they didn't do physical right away and came out later, and digital, what we're talking about. Well, you also got to remember that people, they coerce people to get games 3 days early access if you buy it digital, right? Like when you, for instance, Altern bought Crimson Desert physical copy, okay? Well, where he lives, okay, he didn't get it right away. He had to wait a month to get it, okay? But digital, he could have bought right away, but he waited. He was like, you know what? I'm going to buy physical, and he waited, right? Sometimes you don't get your physical copy if you buy it off Amazon or whatever. You don't get it the day it's supposed to come out. Sometimes, the mail's the mail, right? They don't take any of that into a counter effect. And honestly, convenience, right? Starfield, right when it came out. Get the digital, 3 days early access. Right? Oh, you get this, 3 days early access. Pay extra $30 to get 3 days early access. Convenience. Clip says, why you think PlayStation's pretty much making it where almost half the world can't play games because they know eventually they won't be able to anyway, because they're going straight cloud. Yeah. Mr. G says, other countries have even better than us. If you look at Asia, we have to pay out the nose for what they're rush to us. Yep. They're putting fiber outside my house right now. Right now, they're putting fiber out. Maybe in a month or so, when they're done with it, I'll have 1 gig up, 1 gig down. Let me see what else you guys are saying here. Cracker says, anyway, about to order my digital pizza from Domino's. Anyone want one? Yeah, I'll take one. I'll take a digital slice. Take a digital slice. Mr. Luke says, I saw the sales for UK digital versus physical, and more than 55% of the games sold more physical. That can't be, Mr. Luke. Matt Piscatella didn't report it, and none of the other sheep didn't report it either. That I don't think that's true. Chopper Eric says, no, we can't. Why? Because we show that the narrative is going around is a lie. Don't ask questions. Don't ask questions. Just it's over, guys. Let's pack it up. Let's pack it up. Alanah, okay. Are we still physical copies sold in the U.S.? I mean, at the stores, because you're up against the world, and where I live, the physical copies vanished years ago. Unfortunately, you're brand new to my channel, and I appreciate you coming in and hanging out with us, right? I've been saying for years on this channel, I would get in arguments with people because I said, you have to buy physical. If you don't buy physical, then it's going to go digital. If it goes digital, then you won't be able to buy games anymore. And they're like, well, that's not true. I said, it is until you can't. Like, you won't be able to buy physical copies when the companies decide that you can't buy physical copies. That's what's happening right now. Right now, Sony has decided, because they are the leader, they're a market leader, that they're not going to make copies anymore. And because they own certain infrastructures, okay, Microsoft doesn't print discs, right? I believe Sony prints the discs, and there's another company called Cinram. I think that's what they're called, okay? They print discs. Well, I don't know what Cinram's doing, but Sony prints all the discs, even for Microsoft, okay, because they own those companies. Well, they've already switched over. So they've decided that they're not going to make physical anymore. And now people can't buy physical, right? It's sad. I went to Target last week. You have Nintendo's section. Still, you got gear and games, physical and cards and whatever. They're all there, right? PlayStation still got somewhat physical. Xbox has just the cards, and it's like one little shelf. And I'm like, what the hell's happening, right? So it's not just a Sony thing. It is a Microsoft thing as well. They're all going to go the way of just digital. Just Enough says, Alanah has a good factoid about what's happening in the disc manufacturing plants. Okay, so we'll watch that. Jason says he's lost the sauce and saying this pointless shit. We already know about this for years. Just Enough says, who owns the disc manufacturing plant in Mexico? I don't know. I haven't gone down that rabbit hole to actually know who owns the exact things. All right, we're gonna watch. Is this Alanah? This is Alanah. All right, all the people that we're watching today, links in the description down below. So make sure you go check out their channels, give them a like, give it a sub, and let's get started.
Sponsored by Cook Unity, which means we'll have an ad from them somewhere in the middle of today's video.
That's my face with the video game industry right now. Hold on. I'm gonna pause that right there. That's my face. Really, this right here. I'm like, fucking every day there's something like this in the video game industry.
I made this video that should be on screen.
What's that? At the end of the video consoles, video game Xbox officially an AI company. Okay. Officially AI company. Okay.
Somewhere right now, back in February, and several hardware price hikes and a $1,000 Steam.
Oh, in February. That's good. We've talked about this stuff for years.
Machine later, I knew this was coming. I just didn't think it would be this fast. That's what.
This fast? What are we talking about, chat? Fast? It's been happening. It's been happening this entire time. Holy Christ. These people think it's fast. Like people, they're like, oh, this actress just became an overnight success. No, it doesn't happen overnight. They literally probably did plays and then other musicals, and then they were in like small commercials. They did print work. They did this, and then they finally got their big role, and now it's overnight success. Like, what the fuck are we talking about? Didn't know it was going to happen this fast.
She said. But today, let's specifically talk about PlayStation and why they just did something that everyone hates, that they knew we would all hate, the enormous public backlash that has come from that, and why none of that backlash, no amount of public outrage or petitioning will be able to change it. In case you missed it, PlayStation announced that they are ending physical disc production via a post on the PlayStation blog. It reads, as consumer preferences and the broader entertainment industry continue to shift away from physical discs to digital, physical game disc...
I don't like how she's using Android Wilson for this. It is funny though, the way it's like that she's doing it, but this is not PlayStation. This is EA. And she's reading a PlayStation thing.
Production for all new games releasing on PlayStation consoles will be discontinued starting January 2028. Following this date, new games will be available on PlayStation Store and at retailers in digital formats only. This is a natural direction for Sony Interactive Entertainment to adapt to consumer trends as the general preference for digital media significantly outpaces physical discs. This transition will enable us to align more closely with how most of our community prefers to access and play games today. On the exact same day, they also announced an update on the PlayStation Store for the PS3 and PS Vita.
Well, yeah, you got to rip the Band-Aid off as fast as possible and get everyone used to it. That's business 101, right? Hence why they went dead quiet for like 5 days afterwards.
The second blog post reads, after nearly 2 decades of supporting the PS3 console generation, we wanted to let you know we will be closing the PlayStation Store on PS3 as well as on PS Vita. PlayStation Store on PS3 will close in select markets starting this year.
That is true, Aku. She probably can't use a Japanese person. That would be racist. Yeah, maybe.
Followed by global closures for the PS3 and PS Vita next year. That means new content purchases will no longer be possible once the PlayStation Store closes on these devices. Truly a double hit on game preservation efforts, and I'm not going to talk about the various negatives here for too long, because I think...
Well, why would you? What do you mean that? Why wouldn't you talk about the negatives?
Surely if you're interested in this topic, you've already seen the various reasons that it sucks real bad, discussed extensively. I'm aware I'm late to this topic. Okay, I have to read through like 300 pages of earnings reports and investor statements to make these videos.
It's got to be a really hard video for her, considering she worked for Santa Monica Studios, which is owned by PlayStation.
It takes me a really long time, and YouTube's not my main job. It's not even technically my second job, so I'm always late, and I'm sorry. Give me a break. But I do want to quickly highlight some of them before we get into why they did this thing that we all hate and don't even care that we hate it, that's slightly more complex than people seem to think. Obviously, Sony is not wrong in saying that their customers are largely buying digital. Their last...
you can have a majority of people buy digital, but they're literally forcing everybody else that's physical that you have to buy digital. Like, do you understand the difference between, our majority of our business is digital, but we're forcing everybody else that's not digital to go digital because we don't want to make less money off of those other people. We want to make as much money as those from the rest of the people. We just want to make it uniformed.
This report says that only 3% of the company's sales are
3%, millions, tens of millions of people.
attributed to physical hardware. Physical game sales are down across the board.
Here we go. There's Matt Piscatella, right? The only person, it's the only people that we can run the stats from is Matt Piscatella. It's fucking amazing. Nobody else can do it. Nobody else can do it. Just Matt. Matt's the only one all of these people go to.
Board. This is what people are voting for with their wallets, but at the same time, I just want to point out 3% is still a lot of people. That is millions of people. A study from the ERA, which is the Digital Entertainment and Retail Association, actually found that 25% of people under 25 still buy physical discs. But even if you aren't one of those people, there is still a bunch of ongoing kind of quiet value in physical distribution for Sony's customers. For one, of course, games that are delisted for any reason, this often happens when licenses for certain brands or music expire, will just no longer be accessible.
Yeah. Here's the thing. If they're going all digital, and you know that Sony takes away digital products from people, and again, we're talking about Sony, even though the rest of the industry will do the same. Why would you keep buying stuff from them? And if you know that they're going to take your stuff away from you, then why buy it at all? Why don't you just rent it? Right? Why not get the Ubisoft Pluses and the EA Plays and the Game Passes and the PlayStation Pluses? Why would you purchase a $70 game that you don't own that they're going to take away from you from 3 years from now, 5 years from now?
At all, if we can't at least get physical versions. Not only may this include things that you have paid full price for, which is so anti-consumer that I don't understand how it's allowed. It's also just
because there's no protection, Alanah. There's no protection unless you live in the UK. And there won't be protection because we keep buying it. And because we keep buying it, there's not going to change anything. Because they line other people's pockets with money.
I don't know, really sad to me in a way. Like, there might be games that you love, that you would love to share with people that you love, that can just be erased from existence. People who spent years and years and years of their lives working on these games may never be able to show them to their children. It's just, I don't know, not being able to...
I want to say something, because isn't she the person that said, I forget the actual quote, maybe chat knows, where she said, oh, it's a disability. It's a disability if you have kids. Is that what she said? She was the one that said that, right? Is that the exact quote? Disability because if you have children or people that have children. I forget the exact quote. It's just funny after she just said,
is that their lives working
for the
on
kids.
These games may never be able to show them to their children. It's just...
Okay.
I don't know. Not being able to share art that you love feels exceptionally soulless. So there's that. Sony actually does have a history of doing this as well. They recently delisted a...
Yeah. Imagine hanging out with a person, right? You have a friend, and your friend's a klepto, okay? He loves stealing stuff. He gives you something that he stole and then steals something else from you. He's like a ferret, okay? If you guys ever had a ferret. I never had a ferret. I had a roommate that had a ferret. He used to steal my shit all the time, okay? Would you look at that ferret or the person that's stealing and go, nah, he's not going to steal again. He's only done it 10 times. He's not going to do it an 11th time. Yet, PlayStation just keeps taking stuff away from people. And everyone's okay with it. They're like, yeah, that's fine. Like, what the fuck are we talking about? Oh, no. They did it that one time. They only took my 400 games one time. They still like me. What else am I going to do? I got to play games.
Long list of low-quality AI games, which, to be clear, is a move I'm actually in favor of, considering these are basically scams. But they've...
PS5 says, yeah, having kids is a disability. That's the exact right? That's what she said?
Also done it with video content numerous times, taking down films and TV series that people may have...
These are just outliers. I'm sure Sony is not going to do this again.
Paid full price for when licenses expired. It is something the industry does. It sucks. It's worse without physical...
Do you see what she said there?
Full price for when licenses expired. It is something the industry does.
It is what the industry does. I can't with these people. I can't with these people. It's just what it is. It's just what the industry does. It's just one horse armor. It's just one cup of coffee. It's just a microtransaction. It's just the way it is. Man, get some backbone, would you? Because you can say the exact same thing. You could flip it around on them, and they go, how come they're not buying games? Those people that bought physical games, they just don't want to buy digital games. That's just the way it is.
It sucks. It's worse without physical even being a backup option. I would like to state here, though, just among like a lot of the noise that I'm seeing, while this already always sucks, frequency of this has no reason to increase because of this decision. Sony does want games to remain up, available for purchase, so they can keep getting their 30% cut from third parties.
What did she say there?
Sony does want games to remain up, available for purchase, so they can keep getting their 30% cut from third-party publishers and indies, unless there is some legal reason that they can no longer sell them. I don't think it's going to get worse as a result of this.
I don't think it's going to get worse. I mean, it's very optimistic of you.
This announcement basically still sucks. But before we get to my actual biggest concern, I just want to mention there are also the many, many people who depend on the secondhand game market to actually...
Yeah. How many are gamers and you started off gaming because you couldn't afford a full price game? How many of you bought a secondhand game when you were young? Okay. How many of you have traded in a game? I don't trade in games. Like truly, I never trade in a game. I own all my games I've ever purchased. But how many of you traded in a game so you can afford the next game?
Take part in the hobby. I know that this side of the business is shrinking quite rapidly, but it is legitimately impactful for those who depend on it. I traded in almost every single game I played as a teenager, and I exclusively bought physical pre-owned copies because it's all I could afford with my...
Well, suck it up, Alanah. That's just the way it is now.
Like tiny McDonald's salary. Without that system, the hobby would have been very close to inaccessible to me. I genuinely cannot imagine how...
No, see, you're a scumbag, and I don't mean this personally to you, right? But that's the way the company is. See, anybody that bought a secondhand game, you're a scumbag. They don't like you, right? They don't like GameStop. They don't like you because you're a broke boy, right? Broke boys and girls that couldn't afford full price games, so you had to get a secondhand game. Well, you can't have that. We can't have that now, can we? We need to get all the money from all the people all the time, even though we don't want to do that. We don't want to give a better value towards customers. We want to crush the people that can't afford it and then force them to buy something they can't buy. That's Sony talking, not me. I don't think you're a scumbag.
Different my life would be if I couldn't buy pre-owned games as a kid. It's just really sad to think about. But yes, my actual biggest real concern is monopoly. PlayStation are removing...
Stop it. You don't care about Sony being a monopoly. No. Customers want a product. Buy product. I give you money. You give me product. Monopolies, okay, are going to happen, right? Or they're going to change the way so it's not a monopoly, it's a duopoly, right? Or oligopoly, whatever. It's all these things. They're going to keep doing what they're doing. And the only way it changes is you got to stop supporting these companies. Otherwise, we become idiocracy, and we have Brando, and Brando owns everything.
Competitors, being that this is obviously leading to the removal of physical disk drive to the PS6 entirely. They're making it so that every PlayStation game that you buy from PlayStation. This doesn't happen on PC. If you're not happy with Steam or you want to look for a sale, there are several other stores available. PlayStation have already...
At least she's saying that correctly.
...been A/B pricing as well since November of 2025. This is where different people in the same region are shown two different prices so Sony can see which one sells more and then adjust prices accordingly. According to psprices.com...
What was she saying there? Hold on a second. Let me back that up.
There are several other stores available. PlayStation
Correct.
have already been A/B pricing as well since November of 2025. This is where different people in the same...
This is regional pricing.
...region are shown two different prices so Sony can see which one sells more and then adjust prices accordingly. According to PS Price...
Which is also a scumbag tactic as well. Walmart's doing that now.
They did this with over 190 games in 70 plus regions, but it was actually largely focused on discounts, as in seeing if a discount would make people buy a game significantly more. This can easily lead to dynamic pricing though, where they realize some people might spend more for something than others and thus inflate their prices for that specific user based on their data. And I think just especially with Xbox making themselves less...
No, it's not regional pricing. It's worse. But that's what it is. It's regional pricing. They see what the average person makes, and they're like, oh, we could charge that. It is actually worse what you're saying, Like, they can go down, at least here in the States, it's not region. It's literally down to like the zip code, right? They could tell you what person and what zip code and what they make, and they can charge more individual.
And less competitive as a platform. This just, woof.
What did she say there? Let me rewind there again.
Inflate their prices for that specific user based on their data. And I think just especially with Xbox making themselves less and less competitive as a platform, this just, woof. Turns out
Xbox adapted, and I'm not saying it's a good or bad, right? They're making it sound like, how come no one blames Nintendo? Right? It's always a Sony Xbox thing, Xbox Sony thing. There's no other competition, right? And because Xbox shifted from not being full console and going to PC, obviously it's Xbox's fault why Sony is doing this. Not Sony for taking advantage of what was doing this, right? Instead of competing, they're like, oh no, we'll just wall off the garden, right? I always find it weird how people are blaming this other than what this company is doing itself. Nobody wants to take responsibility for what the company is doing. They want to blame shift what they did with Bungie, right? It was Microsoft for Bungie. It was Activision for Bungie. It was whoever else for Bungie. It was never Bungie's fault. They never take accountability for Bungie. And now Sony, even now, right? People are blaming Sony instead of Bungie. Even though I don't like Sony for certain things, Sony didn't fuck Bungie over. Bungie fucked Bungie over. It just caught up with them because they got paid $3.6 billion from Sony.
Healthily competing console manufacturers actually very good for consumers, and wanting one of them to win over the other was in fact always really fucking stupid. Obviously, I'm not...
Well, that's something we can agree with.
Turns out, healthily competing console manufacturers actually very good for consumers.
That's correct.
And wanting one of them to win over the other was in fact always really fucking stupid.
That's right. Really fucking stupid. We actually might take that clip right there.
Obviously, I'm not alone in feeling extremely negatively about this. There has been a ton of backlash that, sadly, I just do not think is going to work. We'll get to that right after this word from today's sponsor. It is time to talk about Cook Unity. Cook Unity is a chef-to-you meal delivery platform. Their chefs make hundreds of fresh, never frozen meals delivered weekly in sustainable packaging. A bunch of companies have directly come out opposed Unity for sponsor. First order, click the link in the description below and use my code ALANAH50 to try it out. Thank you to Cook Unity for sponsoring the video. Now back to the video. So, a bunch of companies have directly come out opposing Sony's choice here. I Am 8-Bit, Atari, Lost in Cult, Limited Run Games. Even Hideo Kojima said he was really sad. Won't somebody think...
Wait a minute. What were the companies that were against it?
ALANAH50 to try it out. Thank you to Cook Unity for sponsoring the video. Now back to the video. So, a bunch of companies have directly come out opposing Sony's choice here. I Am 8-Bit, Atari, Lost in Cult, Limited Run Games.
I mean, Atari. Atari's like, it just doesn't go away. I didn't even know Atari was still around, I'll be honest. They have like hotels now, and they've gone like 5 different consoles they've tried to brought back.
Even Hideo Kojima said he was really sad. Won't somebody think of Hideo? The Video Game History Foundation specifically issued a statement touching on how this has been a losing battle for them for many, many years. It reads, if platform owners are deciding to eliminate physical media and older digital storefronts, then we'd also like to see trade groups like the Entertainment Software Association offer meaningful solutions for archives and museums to legally preserve digital-only content and make it accessible for research.
That's Sony and Microsoft don't give two shits about any of this stuff right here, about preserving. They don't give a shit about museums. How does that make money for Sony? They're like, yeah, give them a copy. Put them in the museum. We're done.
Everyone agrees this is a serious problem, but the ESA has repeatedly opposed the efforts of cultural heritage.
What, the ESA? You mean the people that fund the ESA? And ESA is probably opposed to efforts culturing heritage?
Institutions to reform digital copy protection laws to make it easier to do this work. The industry needs to meaningfully come together to the table on this issue because asking museums to download a copy of Grand Theft Auto 6 and hope that it'll run in 50 years is not a preservation solution. Which, yes, totally agree. There are also a number of organizations that are actively preparing lawsuits. A Dutch nonprofit.
I can't say it either. That's what my brain does every time I see a name I can't pronounce. I feel you, girl. I feel you.
has filed a 400 million euro class action lawsuit against Sony, specifically arguing that eliminating discs removes competition, thus enabling what they call the Sony tax, which is the 30% sales commission I mentioned earlier. Their intent is to build on top of previous lawsuits Sony has already faced. In the UK, there's a £2 billion class action lawsuit called PlayStation You Owe Us that's going to trial this year. That is also specifically targeting Sony's 30% cut and their monopoly on digital pricing. And there is a US case called PSN Digital Game Settlement, in which Sony has already agreed to pay $7.85 million to resolve.
$7.85 million? Oh my God, what is Sony going to do? They could go bankrupt with paying those prices.
Of antitrust claims in the digital game market. So it's not just public backlash, it's also
$7.8 million. What the fuck are we talking about? We're going to sue you for something that doesn't really matter. Oh, that's a penalty? Okay, we'll just pay it.
legal, professional backlash in an area that they've already been very heavily scrutinized. Obviously, we don't know how these cases will go. I did initially have some hope that the European Union, who are generally pretty good about helping with consumer protections, might be able to stop this. Worth noting, they were not able to help with the recent Stop Killing.
This is what they'll do, Argus, right? Because you're saying they sneeze $7 million in the air. They'll be like, oh, we lost that lawsuit. We got to pay $7.8 million. Let's put another war bond in Helldivers. That should do it. All right, let's move on with our life. Like, that's what they do. Yeah. They're like, oh, we'll just get the percentages from the war bonds from Helldivers. We'll be fine.
Games movement, which was very expected, but admittedly still a huge bummer. But they have had some successes in giant regulatory battles against Apple, in which the EU posits that Apple has been acting as a gatekeeper regarding a number of facets of their digital sales. Sadly, an EU commissioner told the European Parliament earlier this week that there isn't anything they can do about this particular one. The commissioner said, it does come down to commercial and contractual freedoms, and companies are free to offer games and services in the manner that they see fit.
Exactly. And this is why it's very important for the customers to know their place. Now, consumer, not customer rights, consumer rights is what the way they put it.
Provided that consumer rights are fully protected in line with national and EU law. There is also a change.org petition up currently at the time that I'm filming this, just over 300,000 signatures. I'll leave a link to that in the description if you would like to sign it. Though again, I do not think petitioning and public backlash will work here at all. That's no reason not to do it, but Sony already knew everyone would be pissed off. They knew this. People working at PlayStation first-party studios told me that Sony had the strictest social media guidelines for this particular thing that they've ever seen issued. Sony does somewhat regularly tell employees what they can or can't say about
No. Say it ain't so.
certain things. I was under a lot of guidelines when I was working on God of War Laufey. I still am. And they did send me guidelines regarding what I could say on the day that the game was announced. But in this instance, it is apparently...
So how do I know you can say what you can say now without being... How do I know?
the strictest the employees I spoke to have ever seen regarding public communications. They would only have done this if they knew it was going to be an enormous PR issue. This is no surprise.
And see, they tell people to be quiet, not to do anything, not to say anything, because they know. They're like, oh, this is what they think of you. You're morons. Okay, this is Sony talking to you. You're all morons. We're just going to stay quiet and not say anything. We're going to pretend we're ignoring you, and then it'll just pass. It'll just pass. No. You have to keep showing them and telling them that we are done with this. We're done with this. We're not going to pay. We're not going to accept this. We're not going to accept this. People are like, nah, it's just, you can't do it. It's against. Rome will never collapse. Rome will never collapse. Games too big to fail. Yet, biggest games fail. It's absolutely amazing.
To them. So why is it worth it?
Imagine if you have a son or a daughter right now and they can't do anything. What I mean, like they try something new and they just like, I can't do it. And you're like, well, I guess give up then. You'll amount to nothing. That's just the way it is, kid. Like, that's terrible. It's terrible. You have to push them. That's how you get better. That's how they listen. What are we talking about here?
While Sony obviously do get a bigger cut when you buy something from them directly.
Oh, and here we are, right? According to Jason Schreier, Sony earns 54% from digital sales. If first-party games at PlayStation 5 is sold retail at $70, Schreier estimates $45 goes to Sony. If publisher sells the game digitally, it keeps practically the entire amount. Amazing. Sounds like I guess we're not buying first-party titles anymore from them, huh?
They don't have to eat the cost of physical production.
Because 0 of 0 is 0.
And distribution for something that they sell for the same amount. So they make about 50% more revenue from a game they sell digitally. Digital sales are already up and consistently growing in market share versus physical. They didn't really need to force the market on this one. And while direct revenue is great, yay for making more money, it is not an insignificant amount of money. This is just about so much more than that. It's about future-proofing and Sony's current long-term strategy. It is especially important that they...
We have a shirt because of Asha Sharma with the plan's the plan until it's not the plan. Their plan is to do this until it's not the plan anymore. And the only way the plan becomes the plan is when our plan changes their plan. And then the plan's not the plan anymore.
They show investors right now that they are working real hard on this long-term strat because Sony's in a kind of dire spot. They've been down by about 19% on the stock market. To be totally clear, I always want to shout this kind of thing from the rooftops when it comes to conversations about the games industry failing or whatever. Sony's games division is very financially healthy. They are very profitable.
So wait, if they're so profitable and so well off, why are they doing this if they're making so much money? Oh, that's right, because they want to make way more fucking money.
They had a great year in terms of sales. They had a company record operating income of 463.3 billion yen for the last financial year. That's a 12% year-on-year increase and their highest annual revenue ever. They are making a lot of...
Ever. It's the most money they've made ever. Unbelievable.
Money. Their games are still selling, but on the stock market, they are down by about 19%. This is...
But the stock market, well, that needs to go down way more.
Bad. Obviously, the entire games industry is struggling on the stock market right now for a number of reasons. I have a super extensive video about that up on my channel already. If you would like to watch it, I'll leave a link in the description. And there are three very big parts of that directly influence PlayStation. The first is not really solvable. That is the mature market problem. Mature market is what investors call any industry that is past its rapid growth phase. This basically means that...
This is the problem right here. Just talking about what she's talking about right now, this is the problem of how video games have changed over thing, right? Because of this.
Mature market is what investors call any industry that is past its rapid growth phase. This basically means that vast majority of potential customers are already using the product. There aren't any more would-be gamers for the industry to recruit, so there's no more obvious growth to be had. Thus,
oh, isn't that weird? Who's talked about this in the past, about the saturation point and how nobody else is buying the consoles? So what do you have to do? You have to charge more for the people. Well, if you can't charge more for the people, you can charge a little bit more, but you have to make sure you can get more of the profit, which is what Sony's doing. But they're also screwing over everybody in the industry, right? That's just the way it is, though. Just the way it is.
Investors are pivoting to industries that do have more obvious opportunities for growth, like AI. There is very little solution to this particular problem. Without inventing some insane new version of like microtransactions, there's nothing that the games industry can...
They already have the microtransactions. They already have the season passes, the battle passes, the more money per actual game selling now, because now you're taking more of the profit from that. You're not sharing that with anybody else.
Really do about this one. The other two, which are the chip shortage and engagement hours, are a bit more solvable, and the diskless future contributes here. I mean, after the announcement was made, Sony's stocks climbed by 7%. It was, despite all of our outrage, a significant success. A success that is, again, much larger than just, oh, some extra revenue from an already dying part of the industry. Then why did this announcement work so well? Let's start with the chip shortage problem, and the solution here is probably not actually what you think. In case you missed my earlier videos about this, the next generation of consoles, of computer game hardware in general, is in a ton of trouble because they need computer chips, and the AI industry is buying up all of said chips in order to put them in data centers. Because supplies are so limited...
Which are failing, by the way.
And Sony and Nintendo specifically have not presented strong enough answers to this obvious problem, they are getting pushback from shareholders. Investors are concerned about their ability to navigate the shortage with hardware manufacturing going forward. So am I. This hardware has become so egregiously expensive that there is no way the PS6 can come in under $1,000, especially with Sony coming out and saying they don't want to operate at a loss. How do you fix this problem? Well, you could shut down your disc manufacturing plant, which was making about 600,000 discs per day, and turn it into an optical microlens fabricating facility. You know what they use optical microlenses for? AI data centers. Sony has invested 30 million.
I don't know which more is more freakier, the dog or the humanoid. The dog is more freaky.
Sony has invested 30 million EU in this project. Stock market go yay. Sony also recently announced a joint venture with TSMC, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing, who is the world's largest contract chip maker. It is considered a critical supplier for AI accelerators. This doesn't necessarily solve the chip shortage problem insofar as PlayStation specifically are concerned, but it does show investors that Sony is in the game in a position to profit from the huge demand for chip production, rather than just in a position to lose money because they can't manufacture consoles as easily anymore. They have also come forward like every...
Why are they making a new console? Why are they making a new console? Right? Why? Oh, that's a bad picture. I'm sorry I paused you like that. Oh, that's not better. We'll pick that one. Why would they make a new console? If it's so expensive to make a new console, then why make a new console? Oh, I know. Make the problem, sell the solution. You need people to believe that, well, feel bad for us is because market conditions. The market conditions are like this, and this is what we have to do.
In the game in a position to profit from the huge demand for chip production, rather than just in a position to lose money because they can't manufacture consoles as easily anymore. They have also come forward like every other company in the goddamn space and spoken about their plans to integrate generative AI into game development. You know how I mentioned the mature market problem earlier? Mentioning Gen AI is one small appeasement for this. You get to tell investors you're working with this new tech that changes everything. We don't even know the limits of this amazing new
Sorry, Alanah, don't care. That's just the way it is.
Tech and what it might do for our games. The future is limitless. It's not, it sucks ass. Every game developer I know absolutely hates it, but stock market, again, go yeah.
Doesn't matter. Just the way it is. Just accept it.
Hey! Second problem, engagement. Right now, every entertainment industry is competing with social media in terms of user engagement and losing to TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube Reels. These things are all designed to keep you watching for as long as possible, and that's time people are spending not playing video games. The games industry needs to win that time back, and with that, investor confidence. This is a huge focus.
Don't worry, they're going to lose to that. Why? Well, people are watching TikTok. Why? It's because that's the way it is.
For PlayStation.
Why would they fight against it? It's just the way it is. How are they going to fight against people watching TikTok? They might as well just give up. They're not going to win.
Looking through their reports, they are laser focused on monthly active users and total gameplay hours. They have openly told investors they're committed to making live service games even after failures like Concord. They canceled PC ports. They've made a lot of decisions people hate because they're all chasing the same thing, keeping players inside of the PlayStation ecosystem for as long as possible. Getting rid of the part where the consumer goes to the store to buy a physical disc contributes to that. More time for PlayStation. There can only be PlayStation. In sort of optimistic news, even with their doubling down on live service games, PlayStation does still have a huge commitment to high-quality single-player games. Not only
high-quality 6 games a generation.
Not only do their single-player games coax people into that ecosystem, it's also just building up the multimedia aspect of the brand. They are very happy with their film and TV adaptation stuff and are also investing tons in music right now, which is very indicative of where I think we're headed. You remember that Don Matrick Xbox E3 conference everyone hated?
Introducing Xbox One. TV and movies, TV.
I think that's exactly what Sony is trying to do right now. Their long-term strat is to turn PlayStation Plus into a service that gives you access.
Isn't that crazy? If her speculation is correct, they're just turning what Xbox was doing 13 years ago.
To TV, movies, music, and of course, video games. All PlayStation, all the time. In fact,
for a low fee of a monthly subscription.
In fact, even though they posted that cute little video of them passing the disc, which, man, did that age poorly.
This is how you share your games on PS4.
Thanks.
I'm quite sure Sony execs would have loved to do this back then. It feels like the games industry has just been waiting for us to be okay with it, to be more on board with an all-digital, all-subscription service.
We're not. They're not. And they're like, this is taking too long. Rip the fucking Band-Aid off.
This future. This is, of course, also a direct part.
They don't want 60% of the market that's going digital. They want 100%. And they're like, well, this is still taking too long. Right? This is still taking too long. Because if it was a bigger majority then they wouldn't have to. It would automatically happen by itself. But it's not. They have to give it a shove. Hence why they're changing the factory over. Because if they keep going the way they are, it's going to be like another 10, 15 years, 20 years before the physical is completely gone. So Sony's like, well, we're the market leaders. So why don't we just rip that off and force people to go digital?
After the inevitable cloud streaming focus, where we stream games from a much...
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you say cloud focused?
Been waiting for us to be okay with it, to be more on board with an all-digital, all-subscription service future. This is, of course, also a direct path to the inevitable cloud streaming focus, where we stream games from a much smaller PlayStation box or from an app or something. Same shit Microsoft has been trying.
I knew this guy one time. He was a streamer. I forget his name. He used to talk about this, about how cloud gaming was coming. I forget his name. I'm sure it'll come to me.
To do with that, this is an Xbox program, which gamers also hate it. I actually don't doubt that Sony's PR and marketing teams might have wanted to wait a little longer before having to drop this news. I think they figured that consumers would get more and more comfortable with digital only, with subscriptions, with cloud streaming, and that we would eventually just wholly accept this future without any pushback. And we're actually kind of not that far off. Obviously, socially, there's plenty of pushback, but I do think that people are pretty financially accepting of this. I hope that I am wrong. I would love to go back to the era where I put a disc in and it played a video game without any downloads, Jesus Christ. But I actually don't think that Sony will see consumer spending go down as a result of this news.
They will see a dip, but will a dip be big enough? And that's the problem, right? And everyone still thinks that it can't happen, right? How are these people, I don't want to make an analogy of, but I am, right? Of these small little, group of fighters, how can they go up against this entire military? It's impossible, right? It's impossible. Yet, for some reason, everyone just gives up. Everyone gives up. They're like, nah, you can't do it, right? It's that whole mentality of, well, I don't know how to do it, so it's no point of doing it. There's no point in fighting these companies because they're just going to win anyway. And that's the wrong thing, man. This is not a Sony thing. Sony just happens to be the crux of it right now. The industry is changing. And the only way it's going to change or change their mind on how to change it, slow it down, never change it. Again, this is the only industry that's getting rid of complete physical. Every other media, okay, movies, music, and books are all still have physical. Are the physical the majority of the thing? No, but they're still physical. Video games, they're choosing for you. They're telling you, no, you're going digital, and that's the way it is. And that's not the way it should be.
People are financially supportive of this. People are largely buying games digitally, even if they say physical means a lot to them. So it's kind of...
You're just dismissing everybody that still buys physical. And that this is the mouthpieces of the industry. They think that people are buying digital. Yes, that is very true. But you're just chucking out the people that are still buying physical. And they're like, well, there's not many of them. But there's still people that buy physical, and you're forcing them to buy digital.
Of like, considering the state of things on the stock market and the beginning of a new financial year and the lead up to new consoles and this PlayStation Plus ecosystem I suspect they're going to start to unveil at some point, they made the decision to finally pull the plug. It's kind of like, well, it's as good a time as any to do this thing we've probably been wanting to do for a decade. Fuck it. Let them be mad. And let me be very clear. Explaining the business logic behind this does not mean that I agree with it. I don't. I hate it. But understanding why they're doing this is important because it explains why no amount of public backlash can change it. Sony believes this is necessary for its long-term strategy, and investors rewarded it the moment it became public, which is the part where I tapped the sign. The games industry's real customer is the stock market, not the gamer. PlayStation.
Let me just see that last part right there.
Investors rewarded it the moment it became public, which is the part where I tapped the sign. The games industry's real customer is the stock market, not the gamer.
That's right. And that's when gaming's changed. When the investors and banks came involved in it, it completely changed the landscape of the games. This is not a customer decision. This is a stock market business decision of them going full physical or going full digital and getting rid of physical. Right? That's what they're doing. All right, let me see what you guys are saying in chat. Sarge says, because people are more agreeable to robots looking human, makes for a better adaptation, adoption. I guess for the robots they showed on screen, I don't understand. I always figured, like, for instance, the Roomba, right? It's a vacuum. I don't need it to be a human holding a vacuum. You know what I mean? It's just a vacuum. It does the job. It's a robot. I don't need my vacuum to look like a human and then use a vacuum. That's not efficient. You know what I mean? Argus says they probably don't even want to make a new console now. Good thing they haven't even officially announced a new console either. Yeah, I don't know why they're making a new console. It makes no sense. Everybody, I don't know why they're making a new console. Especially during the time where it's so expensive to buy the RAM and stuff. Why would you want to make a new console? Why not squeeze out as much as you can possibly with the console you have? Crowd says, Sony, the big brother of gaming. They're just looking out for you. Just looking out for you. Argus says, keep in mind that the handing over the disc thing was something that was also already a case. They did not do it for the customers. They did it to nail Xbox. They never do shit for the customer. No, it's a speculation on my part, but I guarantee you they were on board doing what Xbox was doing. But when they got the backlash, they're like, how do we do this? And they kind of reversed it on them. Smart marketing, smart business, right? On Sony doing that, because they won that generation, and they won better off than just winning the generation. They won the goodwill of customers. If the chick opens a was that OF? Should be a millionaire in 2 weeks. Oh, you're talking about what's the other site? OnlyFans? Yeah. August says there's also some people here who have never stopped buying physical and never stopped supporting it. Not just a handful, millions. Oh, absolutely. And that's what I'm saying. They're literally just pushing those people away, right? They're just pushing people away. It's like, but there's still people, and they're like, we don't want those people. We don't want those people because they're not making 100% of the profit off of you. They have to share that money with the, the stores, the drivers, the factories, all that. Kyle says maybe you should find a local GameStop or Game Store in your area and support them. GameStop sucks ass, dude. What does Feel Good say? Did he say it? I'm buying digital because it keeps closing GameStops around my area. Unfortunately, I mean, you can still buy physical online. You can still get local game stores like Kylo's saying. But you might be in an area that's not happening. You know what I mean? My new channel says, why would a restaurant keep an item in its menu and use most of the expensive ingredients to lose money daily and less than 10% of the customers order it? Well, it all depends on what it is, right? It could be seasonal, right? But do they close the entire fucking restaurant because everyone's doing takeout orders? And there's still people coming into and orders food inside the restaurant? Or do they now just do everyone where they have a store but they don't let anyone in? Sort of like COVID times, where nobody was going into the actual restaurants and they were just ordering DoorDash the entire time. And now people are paying exorbitant more amounts of money for the same piece of food that you can just go inside the thing. GameStop gives me $30 to $40 for my used games. I got no beef with them. Yeah. And they'll still do that if there's physical games. But if there's no physical games, they have to change their whole business model, right? There, Raku. What time is it? All right, 11:30. Perfect time. And we're gonna watch David Jaffe's video. It says no disc, no buy versus PlayStation is over. If you guys like it, there's a link in the description down below for everybody that we've been watching on the stream. Go to their channels, give it a like, give it a sub. All right. I'm a Jigsaw 1564 says, I guarantee 99% of people crying over the loss of physical never even buy physical. That is the dumbest statement I think I've... Wait, do I have something? Hold on a second. I think no, I don't have it. Yeah, I don't have the transition. What are you talking about? The people that want physical want physical. It doesn't mean they buy all games physical, but they still want the option to buy physical. How is it that everybody is defending just going all straight digital? What does someone buying physical do for you? How does it hurt you in any way that someone wants to buy a physical game? Argus says, David Jaffe telling us why digital only was already here, and it's our fault, I'm sure. I don't know. We'll have to see. How does people... I'm a Jigsaw. How does people buying physical affect you as a customer that's buying digital? It doesn't hurt me. It just feels like outrage for the sake of outrage. That's because you don't give a shit about physical. So how would you say that? If you don't care about physical, then you should shut up. If you don't care, then move on. Buy digital. The people that want physical are not just bitching about it because they're like, oh, I want to make it. Like, they're not protesting on the streets, right? They're saying it with their wallets. They're like, well, if you're not going to make physical, then I'm not going to support you. Clip says, who cares? What if they don't buy physical? If they still want, they have a choice. I buy more 4K Blu-rays than I do games physical, but I still want the choice. Exactly. But apparently these people that just buy digital just don't, they don't want it, so they're not interested in it. And they think everyone else is just showboating. But it's not a vocal minority. It's not a vocal minority. And even if it was a vocal minority, okay, they still want physical. They should still have a choice. Why is it that movies, music, and books still have physical, but video games, they can't? Why is that? Either they don't care about physical or don't understand the importance of physical media, or both, right? Right, Kylo. It's my neighbor house is on fire. My house is not on fire, so it's fine. They're just standing outside their house screaming. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. It's a great start for Jaffe. I feel like he's going to start screaming right off the bat. Argus says, we've already run all the numbers. And they decide that you can also calculate a loss, and they afford to take. And they just squeeze out the lost out and everyone else that's left. Right. Because the more this goes on and the less people that talk about it, people just give in because that's what it is, right? Yeah, but it doesn't matter if it is a niche community, though, right? Jigsaw, it doesn't matter if it's a niche community. If a person wants to buy a vinyl record, there's still people that can go buy vinyl records. They can buy CDs, right? You can go buy a book, even though people mostly read on ebooks now, or on your phone, or on a Kindle, right? All these people have a choice. They have a choice to buy physical. They have a choice to buy digital. That's the point. Anybody that's against people that want choice is just strange to me, because we're fighting for everybody to have the choice. Where people that are just digital, that are just upset that people want physical, they just want digital. You can have digital. Digital is not the problem here, right? At least not in my channel, right? There's people that buy digital only. There's people that buy physical only. There's people that buy digital and physical. You do you. But to say that nobody cares, or you're a digital guy and you don't care about physical, then why even speak? You're getting your way. So you can stay quiet. I'm not saying you specific. I'm saying in general, digital people that want just digital stuff, you're getting what you want. Why are you upset that people are upset about not having physical? Just Enough says, I hate pineapple on pizza, so it shouldn't be an option. That's right. That's right. Whatever you like should be abolished by everybody. Nobody else should be able to get it. And you're trying to start an argument here, Just Enough, bringing up pineapple on pizza. Now people are going to start, I like it. It's disgusting. And it's going to get down. It's going to go downhill quick. It's going to go downhill quick. Feels Good says, I just figured since it cut costs of physical that the digital would be cheaper. But that's what they told you. Remember that, Feels Good. Remember they told you that digital would be cheaper, but digital didn't become cheaper. Digital was the same price as physical. Just Enough says, I bought my physical PlayStation 5 so I can still play my PlayStation 4 games and buy occasional physical PlayStation 5 games on sale. Jigsaw says that the issue is that this is a point where buying install disc, this is even truly physical. The games don't turn off the disc. If you want modern 150 gigabytes plus games to run on a disc, they'll cost $200 plus. But if that's what people want to buy, I've talked about this. I think that they will still make physical, but physical disc will be more, right? You're going to pay a premium price. It's sort of like paying for the digital version of the deluxe edition and stuff like that, right? Now, which is funny because, again, I did an example earlier. I bought Sarge, the Baldur's Gate 2 Deluxe Edition, which is like $80. For $80, you got the discs, you got like a map, you got a bunch of stickers, you got a whole bunch of stuff. Plus, you got the digital code because if you don't have a disc drive, you can still download the game, right? But he has all that stuff, right? And it's a case-by-case scenario based on what game you have. A lot of games need online access now. Other games don't need online access. They're the entire game, right? So it's not a one-size-fits-all type of thing where, well, no games are on the disc anymore. That's not true. There are games on the disc. Not all games are on the disc, right? Some of them are just a key code that you put in. Some of them are the disc with the key on it. It acts like a key when you put it in. But the fact is, they still want physical. This is just one crux of the problem. The other, once we still have physical, right? Because you still have the rights. No one's going to take your actual physical things away from you. Now, online, live service games and stuff like that, it's a whole different story. But then there has to be customer protection, right? And there is no customer protection. They don't want customer protection. There's customer rights and stuff over in Europe and other countries, but not in the United States, right? Nobody wants to talk about that at all because they're trying to fight that as far as possible because they don't want to have customer rights because then they actually have to play ball. They want to control everything and do everything and charge you for the full price. Certain games, it makes no sense whatsoever to buy physical. Online only multiplayer. Exactly. And this is why I'm not against digital. Right? It's never been about you should only buy physical. It's buy what's more convenient for you. But for the company to say, well, we're just going to get rid of all of this because we want to make more profit, because that's what they're doing. Right? There's still millions and millions and millions of people, tens of millions of people buying physical stuff. Kraken says the real argument is ownership, not from that ownership. Physical media is the only part of that argument, but very important nonetheless, or one nonetheless. Argus says there's enough physical demand to where companies spawned up and will turn non-physical games into physical games for you because there's limited run games does this. Right? For instance, the small beat 'em up Cosmic Invasion, right? It first came out in digital form. So maybe people bought the digital form of it. Right? Some people played it on Game Pass. Some people bought the digital version of it. Other people were waiting for the physical disc. And it's on the disc. You go buy the game and put it on the disc. And now you own that game. Some people waited. Some people bought the digital and bought the physical because they wanted to support the company. Ownership is 100,000 or 10,000% the right thing to focus on. But you have to focus on keeping physical first. Physical, if you get rid of physical, it changes the whole dynamic of what they can control. It's not just a throwaway of, well, that's not what we should be focusing on. No, you need physical. And then you also need to protect the ownership of stuff. Customer rights is number one problem here, but I like having physical case. But you need to have that. If you don't have that, okay. See, it's funny to me, right, Kylo? Because you have, even though the rights are not there, like, again, specific games, if you buy, it's on the actual disc. You have the rights. They're not coming to your house to take that from you. If it's an online thing, they can just shut it off and stuff like that, right? Battleborn, perfect example, okay? You have the rights. People are okay getting rid of this so they can get the digital form so we can get the same thing that we had with that. Great. But why can't we still keep the physical and then make digital like this where I have digital rights for that as well, right? Both are important to fight for. But fighting for this after it's gone is pointless. You have to fight for this now, okay? And then also fight for ownership, for digital for the future. Getting rid of physical and then going, oh, we have to fight for digital to make it like physical. I heard some say in the news the other day that remember when all the companies pulled out of Russia, Steam did also, and then nuked Russia players' libraries. I didn't hear that at all. I'll have to look that up. Well, we know multiple people that they got their shit taken from them by accident, and they didn't refund anybody. They had to buy their whole library over again. All right, let's listen to David Jaffe here.
No, I would have one of the biggest gaming channels on YouTube if I just told you what you wanted to hear. I know.
Let me see what you got. You got 62,000, David. That's a lot.
What you want to hear? I do. If I just sat here and catered to your nostalgia, our nostalgia, frankly, and fed the outrage machine, my sub count would explode overnight. I could do it right.
Is he saying that people talking about physical are an outrage? This is so strange to me. It is so strange to me, people fighting for the digital.
Right now. But here's the truth, the actual uncomfortable truth that very few people in this space seem to want to admit. And the truth is, phasing out physical media is not some evil, greedy, Rothschild-coded, Illuminati-stuffed anti-consumer plot.
Nope, it's just greed. You can get rid of all the other beautiful language that you said afterwards. It literally is greed. The most profitable company with the biggest profits they've ever had for their company is not struggling to make profit.
To ruin your life. It really isn't. It is just the brutal, unavoidable financial reality of an...
It's not unavoidable. It's unavoidable if you don't give a shit. And if you don't give a shit, then just stop talking.
Industry trying to survive when the kind of games that made...
Trying to survive. Hold on, let me back up here for a second.
Consumer plot to ruin your life. It really isn't. It is just the brutal, unavoidable financial reality of an industry trying to survive when the kind of games that made you love PlayStation in the first place, well, those games now cost $300 million plus. And I want to...
Stop it. Stop it, David. The only reason they cost $300 million is because they chose to make a game that was $300 million. There is plenty of games that don't cost anywhere close to that have made way more money. Okay. Expedition 33 didn't cost $300 million. Sorry. Pal World, that's banging off the charts right now, didn't cost $300 million to make. What are we talking about? They cost $300 million because of the bloat and bad management and shitty management, letting a game take 7 to 8 years to make instead of just making a smaller game. Still great value.
Emphasize the plus, as that's a conservative estimate. $300 million to make games today. Now look, some of you...
All games are $300 million? Every single one. Every single game out there is $300 million.
You guys just, you don't have your facts straight, and I don't...
I'm pretty sure I'm not generalizing every game's $300 million. And that's why Sony's getting rid of physical games because games cost $300 million. They don't even make games every fucking year.
I want to pour cold water on your no diss, no buy movement, but I'm going to have to. So I saw
development is not more complicated. It's actually easier to make a game now than it was 10, 15 years ago. Yet games back in 10, 15 years ago were made in 2 to 3 years, and games now are made in 7 years. You think that's more complicated? Yet people are using Unreal Engine and can pop out a game in, like, I don't know, 3 months, 5 months.
This post going around on Twitter today perfectly captures why the internet gets so confused about the business of games.
Rhino here says, Sony's sock puppet media continues to push Sony's narrative to make it look like physical games have no demand, but it's all manipulation. Sony shipped nearly 70 million physical PlayStation discs worldwide in fiscal year 2025. In the UK, physical market exceeded 300 million pounds in 2025, with 25% of the young gamers under 25 still using discs. Okay, in Spain, physical sales hit 294 million, with digital revenue seems higher than 61.9%. It is heavily inflated by the inclusion of DLCs, subscriptions, and mobile apps. Around 121 countries lack reliable internet and dedicated PlayStation stores, making physical discs a strict necessity rather than just a preference. Phasing out physical games in a profit-driven move that threatens games ownership, and allowing companies to eliminate physical media gives them unchecked monopoly power over pricing and availability, a shift that will eventually hurt digital consumers too, 100%.
It's a post from Rhino, who I follow and I like, but this post...
You following him and saying you like him has no bearing on you commenting on his stuff. Zero. Zilch. Nada. You don't have to say that.
I don't like this post so much because, I mean, look at these check marks. Tens of thousands of views, hundreds of retweets, and people treating it like gospel. And
what's the difference between what he just said and what you're looking at and disagreeing with it, and yet using Matt Piscatella as the one-all be-all because you agree with that? Is that what it is, even though he doesn't show any proof either?
Replies. And honestly, I get why. Like, psychologically, I get why. If you don't actually know how the business works, this seems like a completely logical pushback that Rhino is making. He's throwing out these stats. Sony shipped 70 million physical discs.
Matt Piscatella threw out that seven games only made 700,000 in the U.S.
The UK physical market is over 300 million pounds in value. Oh,
Matt Piscatella said 2 games only made over whatever, right? What's the difference, David? What's the difference?
121 countries don't have reliable internet. Jesus, how are you going to argue with those stats? But when you actually pull it apart, the logic, his logic, completely crumbles.
I'm going to wait for this. Let's hear it.
All right, let's start with this stat right here. Let's start with the stat that Sony shipped nearly 70 million physical games in fiscal 2025.
Okay.
Well, first of all, shipped does not mean shipped to gamers. It means
so now we're going to get on board with this that I've been talking about for years. Shipped and sold. Where was this conversation from all these people?
Shipped to retail stores, right? So we don't actually know how many of...
Oh, now we don't know. I see how it works. Okay, so before, when the companies come out and they say that they ship this many, everyone's like, oh no, look at that. They stop it. Now that it suits you because you're going up against his stat, now you're going to bring up shipped and sold.
Those 70 million discs made it into players' hands because Sony only has to report what they ship to stores, not what stores actually sell.
He's very true about this, right? He's very true. And this is what we've said all the time on this channel, the small YouTube channel that knows nothing.
When a publisher ships 1 million copies of, let's say, the phenomenal Ghost of Yote, great game, they count that as a win, as they should. That's a lot of copies. But if half of those games end up sitting on a shelf, gathering dust,
Oh, well, you can't have games sitting on the shelf gathering dust. You know, good games don't sit on a shelf. They sell out. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. So did they sell 5 million copies or did they ship 5 million copies?
Spy doesn't just eat that loss. They box those games up and send them right back to Sony for a refund. So 70 million shipped does not mean 70 million players actually went out and bought a physical copy. But even if it did mean that, Let's look at that math. And you
Okay, let's look at that
guys
math.
know if you watch this channel more than 10 minutes, I'm shit at math. So I've triple checked this. But here's the math. 70 million discs sounds massive, right? But if you look at that exact same...
It sounds massive, but you also have to tell me how many games that is. If it's one game selling 70 million copies, that would be huge. That'd be like a Grand Theft Auto size. No game has ever done that, okay, yet. But if it's 100 games, or if it's 200 games, and they sold 7 million copies total, that wouldn't be that big of a stat, would it? Considering there's 19 fucking thousand games that come out.
Fiscal year, which is Rhino is talking about, 2025, PlayStation actually sold 290 million, give or take, million full games. So if 70 million of those games were physical, that means 210 million of those full games, roughly 72%, were bought digitally.
Okay. Let's just take that math that you're doing, David. So the 70 million people that bought physical don't mean anything because the 270, what was the number he said? 200 and what?
So if 70 million of those games were physical, that means 210 million of those full games, roughly.
So 200, where's this number coming from? 280. Where did he pull that number from? I'm going to back up here for a second.
This channel more than 10 minutes. I'm shit at
He did say he's shit at math, so I just want to know where this shit math's coming from.
math. So I've triple checked this. But here's the math. 70 million discs sounds massive, right?
Okay.
But if you look at that exact same fiscal year, which is Rhino is talking about, 2025, PlayStation actually sold 290 million
290 million. His math is shit because 290 minus 70, okay, you have 220. So his math is shit. I don't know if I could actually take him seriously anymore.
give or take, million full games. So if 70 million of those games were physical, that means 210 million of those
220.
full games, roughly 72%.
Does anybody want to check that that's correct? That's 72%? Anybody want to check that stat? I'm not going to check that stat. I'm also not going to take it at face value.
Were bought digitally. 72% were bought digitally. So when you look at the whole picture, physical is just a fraction.
I'm baffled by people are like, it's just a fraction. 70 million. 70 million. 70 million. That's not a small number.
A fraction of the total volume of games sold. And I'd like to point something out here. That 290 million figure of digital sell is not DLC. It's not Fortnite V-Buck.
How do you know that? How do you know that? They don't tell you the actual sales numbers. How do you know that?
It's not microtransactions, not PlayStation Plus subscriptions.
How do you know that?
Sony's own
Did I do a podcast with him? I never did a podcast with David.
financial reporting to their investors.
You're thinking of a different David. You're thinking of the guy's name was David, but I think it was Guardian Outpost. I think his name was Jax.
That number is tracked under a strictly legally binding category called full game software unit sales or something like that. I forget the acronym, but it counts actual individual full games, period. The DLC is listed somewhere else. Now, I know some of you guys will bring up the Insomniac leaks from a while back to argue that big single-player games still sell heavily on disc at launch. First off, that data is years old now. It's
The goalpost is moving big time here. The goalpost is moving big time here.
6 years old, I think. It's from 2020 or 2022.
It's from 2022, 2023.
But since then, I would guess, and I'd only guess, but I imagine you'd agree, the gap between digital and physical has only gotten wider. And
You don't know that because they don't share those numbers.
by the way, when we talk about, I feel like an asshole pointing this out, but I'm sorry. When we talk about phasing out the disk drive, who do you think actually makes that call?
They still have a disk drive. You can still buy a disk drive. You have a choice if you still want to buy a disk drive. You still have a choice if you want to buy physical or digital. Choice.
And this is important to keep in mind, though, because it's not the developers, it's not the artists and coders and
Has nothing to do with them. We're not talking about them. We don't care. That the developers have nothing to do if I want to buy physical or digital. It's the company that decided for me, which is Sony.
directors at Naughty Dog or Santa Monica. They're not sitting around a table plotting to steal your plastic boxes. They just want to make great games, which, and we'll get to this in a second, this decision.
So make great games. Why are you spending 7-8 years making a $300-400 million game? And then they fail. Just make games. Make a game, sell a game.
For Sony to go all in on digital is going to let those artists keep doing that.
Bro, this is delusional. He thinks because Sony wipes out physical, the developers can now make a better $400 million game. This is coming from a company that spent $465 million for Concord. Well, actually, they didn't spend that much. They paid $100 million, and they paid $265 million to buy the company or whatever. So it spent close to almost $400 million to close that studio down in 13 days. They bought Bungie for $3.6 billion, and they're destroying the studio. The fuck are we talking about?
And that digital decision, again, it's not even coming from PlayStation. It's not coming from Herman Holst or even his boss. This is a decision that's...
Oh, my God. Who are you protecting? So you can't blame Sony. You can't blame Holtz. You can't blame... Who are we... The magical creature up in the sky? Like, what are we talking about?
Clearly coming from Papa Sony at the very top of the corporate food chain, because the math is simply too good to ignore.
He did say my math is shit. He couldn't add 220 plus 70.
This is the math. Like I said, I triple checked this shit.
You should quadruple check it because you were wrong.
Sony proper makes most of its money off third-party games, not the first.
So then why would they have to get rid of... Why would they get rid of it then? They're hurting the people that buy physical for third-party games. They're hurting the people that are making games for their systems.
First-party titles. The first-party titles motivate you to buy the box, and once you have the box...
Which not many people are buying first-party titles from them. They buy Madden and Call of Duty.
The lion's share of games that get bought and sold and played on PlayStation are made by different publishers. Konami, Activision. Take Activision, for example, with... What's that game? Take Activision with Call of Duty. Call of Duty, okay, the new one, whatever. $70 physical game disc of Call of Duty, and imagine...
You should never pay $70 for Call of Duty. You should never pay $70 for Call of Duty, especially when it's digital.
It being sold at Target. Target comes in, they sell a copy, they take their cut.
Yeah, that's how business works. A whole little chain there. The guy that drove the truck there, the guy that fueled the truck, the shipping, the road, the shelf space, all of this, they get a part of the thing because they're taking their product and putting it on that shelf to get to the customer so the customer can play the game.
Depends on the negotiation. There's a percentage cut Target gets. The factories that print the discs and the trucks,
which Sony owns,
that ship those discs to the stores take a cut, whether it's from the back end or an upfront fee. And then Sony takes a fee for just letting the game be on PlayStation.
David, you're on YouTube. YouTube provided you a platform that you have to give them 30% of the stuff because they gave you shelf space to put your videos on, right? You can go to Kick, you can go to Twitch, you can go to all these places. They're all going to take their cut because they're providing you a place to sell your stuff. Sony makes the stuff and they need to sell it. So they're competitive and they have to give percentages away because they have to put it in the stores. And they're like, hey, you want to sell your thing here? We need to take a percentage. If they make all digital, it goes to their store only, and they get to tell you what the price is, and it never goes down. It's never on sale. It stays at full price. They can charge even more. They're in control of the entire ecosystem.
Everything sold on PlayStation that runs, Sony gets a percentage, which in the case of a game is $10. The publisher, Activision, keeps what's left. So 30 to 35 to $40. Now, that's good. That's been a business.
That's good. This man became, I don't know if he's still a millionaire. Okay. He made God of War, made a shit ton of money off of it for just that 30, 40%.
All that's worked for a long time. But look what happens when you buy the exact same game, but you buy it digitally on the PlayStation Store.
Yeah, they get more money for still a broken, buggy, unfinished game.
Okay. Target is gone. They get cut out.
Yep.
The people who drive the trucks and run the trucking companies
Fantastic.
and manufacture the disc and the manuals and write the manuals, all that's gone. That's cut out. Not that we ever have manuals anymore, but you know what I mean? The art and stuff. And now Sony gets to take 30%.
Oh my God. They get to get more money and screw you over even more, and without ever sharing the profits with anybody else. And then they get to raise the price and control the price from beginning to end.
Because it's on PSN, because it's on the digital store instantly, doubling their take from $10 to $21.
No, they make 100% of the profit now.
The game's publisher, Activision in this case, they keep the rest of the money. For every digital copy sold, instead of getting $35 to $40, they're making $50 for every single digital copy sold of Call of Duty. How, if the audience is behind this and they're okay with it, and
Not 100% of the audience is behind this. Not 100% of the audience is behind this.
stats show they are, if you were running these companies, you would do the same. And if not, you'd probably...
I wouldn't. Because you're the most profitable you are. You're still making customers. And the people that want to buy physical are still buying. You're providing a service to them. You're providing a service to them.
be fired for not, upholding your fiduciary.
Oh, we won't even talk about that, Mo. We talked about that yesterday about their new coin they're going to have, that you got to pay for Sony stuff using their coin. The stable coin, is that what it was called?
Fiduciary responsibility, because you're just a fucking moron if your job is to make money. So, I mean, you can see why third-party publishers are not fighting Sony on this. They're popping champagne, man. Other than the really small ones, you're not hearing many people bitch. Capcom recently reported that over 90% of their game sales are digital. EA...
Well, yeah, but you have to tell the whole story. Like, just taking a sentence and saying it.
2K, those guys are making hundreds of millions of dollars more on digital than physical. Everybody makes way more money per game sold without worrying about unsold plastic boxes.
So if they're making way more money, they can lower the price then, huh? Since it's digital, should be at least $20 cheaper. I mean, we can get $50 games again. Because now you're getting 100% of $50.
Collecting dust in a warehouse without worrying about giving other middlemen a cut of the percentage. And this claim from Rhino, yeah, I mean, it sucks. It's unfortunate for markets without high-speed internet, but no massive global company is going to keep paying for factories and trucks and warehouses to serve edge cases that don't.
What a shitty business owner. And this is why businesses go out of business. Because they forget where they got all the money from the customers.
Only bring in a tiny fraction of their overall profit. They go where the money is, man. I mean, do you really think Sony would be doing this?
As a business owner, you want to make as much money as possible, but you also don't want to screw over your clients, your customers, the people that made you what you are.
They're like, oh, those 121 countries that don't have PSN, why didn't we think about that? We totally lost their business. Come on. They factored it in. It's not a drop in the bucket, clearly. Now, all of this leads to...
Unlike the lawsuits they're in where they'll just pay it off and pay the fines because they know they're doing way more worse.
A question of, okay, well, great, Jaffe. The math checks out.
Your math 100% doesn't check out.
If you're a greedy asshole robber baron, but isn't this anti-consumer? Anti-consumer.
Yes. If it goes 100% digital and they control the price on their closed ecosystem, yes, it's exactly what it is, anti-consumer.
You hear that a lot in this discussion. The reality of the gaming industry, and any industry really, and I'm sorry to say this, is that it's a business.
Yes, that's correct. It is a business. And the way they make their money is from the customers. And when the customers speak up, we have people like yourself that say, well, it's just the way it is. You have to go digital. Suck it up, Buttercup.
First and foremost, before everything else, every single decision in a video game has the bottom line baked into it from the start. From what games get greenlit to what live service games get canceled and when. Gamers, they throw this phrase around, anti-consumer. Anytime a corporation makes a move where the gamers, can clearly see the truth that has always been operating behind.
The truth that it's anti-consumer?
Behind the scenes. That every move a company makes is always always about making money.
That's correct. And we're okay with them making money. It's when they control the entire chain that's anti-consumer. See, it's not anti-consumer because they are delivering games to Target, Walmart, Best Buy, and everywhere else. But once it goes to Sony only, that is anti-consumer.
From them greenlighting Twisted Metal 3, instead of a game where you played this IT guy inside a giant robot. Totally true. I was there. I saw the demo. But they greenlit Twisted Metal 3. From that to them killing the disk drive on the PS6, every decision is this going to make us money? Now, we sit here and we cry about publishers doing these things.
No one's crying. We're having conversations.
Ditching disk drives or pushing live service games. But there is a massive, almost willful disconnect between what the core gaming community demands and the cold, hard financial reality of what it costs to build games.
Games do not need to cost $300 million. Games do not have to cost $100 for a video game. You can make a video game in 2 to 3 years. You can make a smaller game. You can have a game that costs less than $100 million. And yet, these are all proven. You don't need to make these $300, $450 million games. And to make those games, raise the price, go all digital, control the entire market so you can make your 6 games per generation.
In general, let alone the mega expensive single player games that a lot of you guys say you want. Hell, I want those games a lot of times. But it's the ultimate cognitive dissonance. Gamers expect every major first party release to be this visually groundbreaking 30-hour cinematic masterpiece. But then they riot the second a publisher makes a business move to actually fund that.
You can't say what you're saying, David, because you're talking about a minority. Because no matter what game sells, let me give you an example here. There's 93 million people on PlayStation, right? That's what we know. 93.5 million people own a PlayStation, play video games on PlayStation. Ghost of Yotei sold 3.3 million copies. People that bitch about Ghost of Yotei for whatever reason, that is the majority of the people that bought it, or the minority of the people bought it, but it's still the minority because there's still 90 million people that didn't buy the game. So the people that say, I don't like Yotei, and everyone's like, well, they're just stupid, they're sexist, and they're racist, and right? The people that didn't buy the game is the majority of the people that didn't buy the game. The 90 million people. The 3.5 million people that bought Yotei and then complain about it is the vocal minority. Even if everybody loved the game of Yotei, 3.5 million people, there's still 90 million people that didn't buy it because they didn't have any interest in it.
Standard, which is becoming an impossible standard, because look, let me say the number again to be obnoxious about it. And it's a conservative number, $300 million plus. And that, I'm not talking more than that is for GTA 6. I'm talking PlayStation single player. It's conservative. Come on now. A lot of gamers like to act like they're these uniquely targeted victims of corporate greed. But if you...
Nope, not specifically targeted. Just concerned customers that see what's going on, and now we're vocal because now they're pushing the envelope a little too much. And now because we speak up, we're the bad guys trying to protect the rest of everybody else from these corporations. And everybody else is this lawn chair that just folds and says, it's just the way it is.
Look outside games just for 5 seconds. This is the exact same playbook used and ultimately accepted across every major industry. Here's some examples. Yeah.
Yep.
Adobe Photoshop, Premiere. They killed physical disc and forced
and people hated it. Their stock went down, and people hate Adobe now.
Every creative who uses their services.
There's a fraction of people that use Adobe, and they use much more other programs now that are free or cheaper.
Into a monthly subscription. People screamed and bitched, but now software as a service is the universal standard
That's because they listen to the minority and to suck you dry of your money, where you have to. I could have bought Adobe for $250. Instead, now people pay $250 like a month to get the exact same thing they had with the whole fucking thing.
Most people were fine with it. Airlines.
Not most people. The people that they decided that would pay more money. The Krakens. This is the mobile market. This is less people buy the game or spend money, but the people that are spending money are spending a shit ton more money than the people that are not.
If you remember, it's been a while, but they used to include, if you remember, check bags in the price of your ticket. Then they unbundled it. They said, we're going to charge $35 for you to check a bag. They made billions. And now.
And they also raised the ticket prices of the actual seats that you had while shrinking the seats, by the way.
Charging for carry-on is totally normal. Apple removed the headphone jack from the iPhone. You remember? And everybody mocked them. I'm not putting up with that until every single Android maker quietly did the same thing to sell you wireless earbuds. I know this because I just bought some. Finally. Broke down, bought some.
Oh, broke down. Turned it in. I gotcha.
They're awesome. Look, corporations will always test the customer's boundaries to see what they can get away with in order to make
Right. And then the people that fold and pay more money for stuff, that's who wins.
more cash. If the market keeps telling them they're okay with it, if the market keeps buying it.
The market doesn't mean it's the majority. It just means it's more people that are paying more money. Look at what's happening with IMAX right now. Less people are watching the movie, but more people are spending more, or less people are watching the movie, but the less people are paying double the price.
Like they've shown they will do with digital games. I'm sorry, but it's true. What it really comes down to is this simple phrase: anti-consumer is usually the temporary phase that exists between outrage and the new normal.
The new normal is anti-consumer. The new normal will be they control the entire thing from beginning to end.
I don't see this being any different. I'm sorry to say it's true, but physical disc is going away. And not because an evil villain in a boardroom hates you and wants to take your toys away.
That's basically what it is, actually. Yeah. It's a suit. It's a guy in a suit that says, or it could be a woman, but it's most likely a guy, because he's like, hey, we could make this much more money if we just did this. And they're like, okay.
It wants to squash your nostalgia, but because $300 million plus games.
No, he's not destroying the nostalgia vindictively. He just wants to make more money.
Games cannot survive without company.
I don't think the guy's in the boardroom going, I hate people that collect stuff. We have to destroy the nostalgia. I don't think that's happening. I think they go, oh, we made a shit ton of money last year. We made $90 billion. We could double that if we just make it digital. It's great idea, Dave.
He's cutting out the middlemen to keep more of the cash. And because, yes, people are greedy.
Hey, you just gave a whole speech of it's not greed, but now it's greed.
Greedy as you let them get away with being.
Holy shit. What? Let me rewind here for a second.
Your toys away. It wants to squash your nostalgia, but because $300 million plus games cannot survive without companies cutting out the middlemen.
They don't have to make $300 million games
to keep more of the cash. And because, yes, people are greedy. As greedy as you let them get away with being.
Holy shit. He just said it out loud. As greedy as we let them get away with, but let them get away with everything's digital. The fuck are we talking about? Whereas they're as greedy as we let them get away with, but they're not being greedy, guys. They're not doing this to take stuff away from you. You can't fight this because you're only letting them be greedy as much as you want. What are we talking about? Of course. Hence why we're saying something. Hence why the people that are speaking up about this, and you're calling us a bunch of whiny babies, okay? We don't want them to get away with this. Holy shit.
But the majority of gamers have made it clear.
No, the majority of gamers have not made it clear. The majority of gamers that play mobile phone games and spend microtransactions is not the majority. They're the minority that spend more money. Hence why they have the name Whales and Krakens.
Okay, they're all in with an all-digital gaming future. But hey, by all means, join the no disc, no buy movement if that's where you draw your...
Bro, do you see how this is happening? Holy shit. We literally watched it in full. He said it out loud. They're only as greedy what you let them get away with. If you believe in this, yeah, join the movement. But it doesn't matter. That's what he's saying.
Line. Vote with your wallet. I respect that. I really
Sure.
do. But just don't be surprised.
Don't be surprised if it goes through. Well, don't be surprised if physical games stay.
when the video game train keeps racing right past you, because the vast majority of the market has already decided. They've moved on.
This is amazing. This is amazing. Imagine having integrity and morals. I know that's hard to come by nowadays. People just like getting shoved over, bent over, run over, folded over. They like all this stuff because they don't know. They feel like they love them. Look, I love video games. I've been playing video games since I was 3 years old. If video games goes the way where it's outrageous and I got to pay all digital and I got to pay $100, $200, I'll just stop gaming. No loss, no miss. I have all the memories, all the things. I don't care if I miss out on stuff. Don't care. Right? And I'm just saying for myself. I'm not saying everybody else has to be this. I don't give two shits. I'll talk about video games. I'll play video games. But there's going to be a point where I'm just like, you know what? I'm good. I don't need to do it anymore. Right? Stop watching TV. Don't have cable. Right? Stop going to the movies for years and years and years. Started going back. Right? Because now my son's old enough to go. Right? No miss. Right? I used to watch sports all the time. I don't watch sports anymore. Nothing different.
They've entered their credit card and they've accepted the new normal. And that's where we are.
That's right. You've accepted the new normal. You are a consumer. And the rest of us that still want physical are customers. And we want our money to know that when we give our money, that we are the people that you should be listening to.
And that's where we're headed. I do it. Look, man, I wish I could lie to you. I really do. I would be super duper rich. Maybe that's the only business that doesn't put money.
It's not about being rich, right? It's not about being rich. You made a game. You made a lot of money when you made God of War. I'm sure you would love to make a hit game today where you make a shit ton more money, which is understandable. People want to make money. But we're not talking about the ants. We're talking about the queen. We're talking about the king of the colony, that they're forcing everybody else that doesn't want to go that way to go that way. And you're accepting it. And then when it happens, when it goes all digital, when it goes to cloud and you're paying $100 for a video game and it never goes on sale and it's only on the Sony store, don't come back and go, well, I can't believe we didn't see this happening.
First are the ones I run because I suck at it. Because if I lied to you and if I put greed first, I'd be rolling in it. But I can't. I got to be honest with you. And this is the truth as I see it. Anyway, good to see you. Thanks for watching this video. I appreciate you being here. Check out Retro Game Treasure. You'll see the link below. Enter Jaffe 10 on your first box.
So there you go. There's David Jaffe. Links in the description down below. I can't believe he said that thing out loud. He said the thing out loud. They're only as greedy as what you let them get away with. So fold over and let them have it. That's what he said. Absolutely amazing. All right, let me see what you guys are saying here. Ray says, if the third-party publishers hate physical so much, why do they make physical games? Why COD hasn't gone full digital? How, right, what I want to sell more people. Sony wants to force us. That's right. They don't want you to have choice. And apparently anybody else that's against this, against people that want physical, also don't want you to have choice. You don't need 14 levels of management. You don't need $300 million AAA games. Mr. Luke says he's trying to convince us we're stupid. We're stupid. What was that clip? Ray says, actually, yes, gamers and card buyers are getting screwed more and more. Sarge says, but it's not what it's subscription. It's that you stopped me from using the version I purchased, forcing me to do a subscription model. Eclipse says, my Android has a headphone jack. Maybe buy another brand, you dumbass. That's right. And honestly, you could buy, they have adapters that you can put into your iPhone if you want to use old, like the old stuff. I mean, they have them. Chopper says he's mad that God of War moved on without his influence in it. Maybe, probably. Yeah, he probably made a lot more money off of the 2018 version, huh? If he was part of it. Mrs. Luke says, what the fuck is this guy even saying? Just Enough says, as greedy as you let them get away with, vote with your wallet. Kraken says, 30, why is everyone you have reacted to today retarded? It's a good question. They're only as retarded as we let them get away with. Chopper says they also, as in all game companies, know that the next gen is going to be a disaster for all of them. This is a part of the plan to get out ahead of and put pressure on the bleeding to mitigate it. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. A lot of you guys might come in next year and the next 2 years. Right? I'll still be here. I'll still be streaming. And you guys will probably get the newest games and greatest games. And I won't. Look, I don't own a PlayStation. I don't own a PlayStation. Didn't buy a PlayStation this last generation. Not because I was against PlayStation. It's because PlayStation wasn't in stock when I wanted to buy it. And when it was in stock, I didn't need it anymore. Because I really don't care about the first party titles. Right? Wolverine comes out, big Wolverine fan. I don't need to play it. I didn't play the next Spider-Man. I don't care. Right? I can even play the next Spider-Man and I still don't care. Right? I don't hate Sony, and that's why I didn't buy it. I didn't buy Sony because Sony wasn't there. So I was like, I have this money, and I bought an Xbox. We all went together, right? Like friends, my other friends were like, yeah, I'm going to buy an Xbox. I was like, all right, great. So we played together. That's it. There wasn't massive scheme around it of, oh, I hate this company. But going forward, I'm not picking up a PlayStation. Going forward, I'm not buying a Helix. None of these companies deserve my money. Zero. Right? I still have my Xbox Series X. I'm not going to sell it. Right? If I owned a PlayStation 5, I wouldn't sell it and be like, well, I'm done. I just would stop buying new games. I would just buy and play the games that I have, right? The games that I have and own, that's what I would play. Just like every other system I have, right? In the past, if I want to go back and play a 360 game and it doesn't run on the new system, I'll go back on the 360. Right? I'll go back to the PlayStation 2. I'll go back to the PlayStation 4, right? I am not scared of losing my stuff, okay? Like starting over, I should say, okay? I refuse to get certain things or they're just going to take them from me, right? That's it. So moving forward, I'm going to go elsewhere. I already have a PC. I don't have to like get into the ecosystem, right? I get things off GOG. I get things off Steam. I get things off Epic. Wherever it is, right? I'll play it where I want. But going forward, Sony haven't been a customer for the last 6 years. They're not going to be a customer for the next 6 more. Ray says, the guy created Kratos. Kratos is the most hateful character ever. No wonder he's like that. Mr. Z says, tons of people are holding people like Schreier, Pearce, and Jaffe very high. It's interesting that they can't even take a middle-of-the-road stance of the subject. Yeah, they can't. Jigsaw says, if new amazing software is launching on new consoles, everyone's buying them. No, they won't because they're over $1,000. Not everyone. The 3 million, 5 million people will, because those are the people that are keeping up with the Joneses. Everyone will not be buying it because everyone can't afford it. Like, the small group of people will always buy it, which will be the majority until it's the minority. What time is it? 12:30? All right. We were going to talk about the play more games you love whenever, but we'll talk about that tonight on GXG with Sarge. So I'll remove that story down below. We'll take that out of the source there. So we just watched the 3 videos today. So you got all the links in the description down below for the 3 videos that we watched. Join us tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, for Generation X Gaming, a weekly podcast that goes over a few of the top stories from the past week, and we rant along the way. That's episode 497 tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on 30NSG. You can watch us on Twitter. You can watch us over here on YouTube. Appreciate it very much. Check out our Spotify playlist. Check out our apparel store down below. If you like it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. I appreciate you very much. We'll send you off to we'll do customer consumer song today. I'll see you guys tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern. Peace.
Yeah. There's a difference. Not all money is the same. Listen up. Hey, yo, what customer is earned, that's respect on the line. They don't drop a single dollar till your product is refined. They're checking quality, value, the service, the vibe. If you treat them like it matter, they'll stay with you for the ride. But a consumer, man, they buying on impulse. No standards, no questions, they don't care what the bill does. Bad game, bad merch, wrong size, doesn't matter. They keep paying every time like their wallets on auto scatter. Whoa. Customer or consumer, tell me who you trying to move, bro. One pays cause they see your worth, the other pays for anything on earth. Customer or consumer, two different lanes, two different futures. One you earn, one just sooner. Yeah, there's levels to the user. A customer's money got a heartbeat, facts. It's the paycheck that they grind for, breaking they back. So if they choose you, man, you better give it right back. With loyalty, quality, value intact. But a consumer, they swipe without thinking. It could break in 2 seconds, they'll still cop without blinking.